worries, man.
Okay, so we're live. Michael from Australia. What state are you in down there?
Hi, Aaron. Thanks for having me on the video. I'm currently speaking from Australia and I'm located in Perth. And Perth is our city, and my location is in Joondalup.
Right, and Perth is my favourite city in Australia, by the way.
I think I remember, thank you very much. I think I remember on one of your videos, you said many years ago you had come to, I think, Western Australia, or you had went around the mines or something like that.
Well, I travelled 13,000 miles around Australia, and I worked in the gold mines in Kalgoorlie. I worked on a couple of mines. Of course, these days the mostly open cut, and so I was driving a big 12-wheeler truck, tipper truck, and then I was working in the fire assay department in another place, and so I was really enjoying that. And then one day I went to see the boss, and I asked him if I could actually go into the gold room and watch a pour. They do a pour once a week, and they pour between 5 and 7 bullion on any given day. And so the boss, yeah, I don't know, he kind of like, he had a lot of time for me because when I went to ask him for the job, his colleague brought me into his office, and the boss was just sitting at his table writing something down. And his colleague said to him, "This guy's here. He wants to know if there's any jobs." And the boss just said no, and he didn't even bother looking up. And I said to him, I said, "Well, I've come 13,000 miles to work in these gold mines, and I ain't leaving till I've done it." He looked at his colleague and he said, "Get him a hat."
Well done, man. Well
I
done. You
got
got
the
it.
job there and then, man. And so anyway, I went back to him and I asked him if I could go in the gold room. And so he said, "Well, because you're a tourist and you're on a cultural thing, so yeah, we can have that facility, but it's heavily under armed guard, And so I went in the cage and I participated in the pouring and in the acid bath of the bullion, and then tapping the codes in, and then I was trying to curl them, and I got loads of photos. And on that particular day, there were 5 bullion, and that was probably the most money I'll ever have in my hands in my life, and so that was a very exciting thing. So yeah, I travelled all around Australia, right around the outside and all the way up through the middle, doing all the wonderful things like foster kidding Cooper PD, surfing on Bondi Beach and Surfers Paradise, and whitewater rafting in Tully, flying lessons in Kalgoorlie. Oh, goodness me, I had an absolute ball.
And what year were you in Australia when you were doing all of that?
35 years ago, 36 years ago. And so my daughter,
30.
she was, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So this would have been 1989, around there.
yeah, yeah, that was back in the day when you could travel easily around the country, and when you came to these backpackers, they were mostly empty, and everything was cheap, and you could camp on the beaches and have fires on the beaches, and all this stuff. My daughter, she went to Queensland. I don't know, about 5 years ago now, and you couldn't do any of that stuff. No camping on the beaches, no fires on the beaches, no beer on the beaches, and yeah, everything was just, well, conservation, because there's so many people doing it now, and it's a good thing in some respects, but it took the charm away.
Yep, I completely agree and understand. And even though I wasn't around like in 89, I was born 1991. So I'm currently
Wow.
35 years old. But I do have memories. And when I and speak to elders and talk about the 70s, 80s, 90s, there was just so much more freedom of what people had. And I don't know, I feel like the young generation's missing out on a lot of things, but it is what it is.
Yeah, now, what can I say? Australia's been hijacked the same as Britain.
I
We've
know.
both been hijacked by the liberalist, and we're really struggling with a lot of things at this moment in time. And during the COVID, it appeared that Australia and Canada were suffering the most, but we quickly followed suit. And so, yeah, you got all these silly changes going on, but lots of them have been reverted now. You know, the old transgender thing, and I don't know, sex changes for minors, and all this rainbow stuff, and using these pronouns. Lots of that stuff has just been thrown out. We're not standing for it in most places in the world, thank goodness.
Thank God for that. Man, thank you for sharing your experience with Australia and where you've been. And same as me, man, I was in the mines for like since I was 20 years old. So I worked there for 13 years, and I had pretty much worked in different areas of Western Australia, Kalgoorlie, up north, down south. And most likely at one point, you and me, we were in a very similar area. So we've got that in common, man.
And what sort of jobs did you do then in the mines? Similar sort of thing, or?
So at the mines, I had done a job. It was called pit technician. It was a part of the geology department.
Yeah.
Basically, I was just telling truck drivers, you drive here, you drive there. I'd pick up a couple samples, and that was my job. But to be honest with you, because I had a lot of internet and I could download videos, man, like 90% of my time, I was just watching videos about, Terence McKenna, Alan Watts, Ram Dass, Eckhart Tolle, Elon Musk, David Icke.
Right. Yeah,
My
yeah.
brain was somewhere else, man. And later on, we'll go through that conversation as well.
Yeah, so it's always nice to have a vocation like that whereby you don't actually have to be there mentally, you know?
That's right. So just to
Yeah.
let you know on the video, Aaron, unlike maybe some of your guests and people, there's no glitches with my brain. It operates and it flows and questions arise. And I'm not an NPC robot, just to let you know. So
Well,
we'll
that
keep things going.
I'm sure they'll well, I think lots of them will enjoy that, and lots of them will envy it.
I think
You,
so.
you know, there's this thing about human consciousness. It's very broad. It's got a huge spectrum, and more these days, specialists, scientists, and people of that ilk, they are starting to realize the vastness of the differences, and they're speaking about it and they're questioning it, and it no longer in professional realms is that we're all the same. We've all got the same abilities and capacities and all that, and the only difference would be is a little bit of difference in IQ. No, the difference is vast now. The difference is that lots of people don't have an internal monologue. They don't have an internal dialogue. People like me have a fantasia. I don't see anything at all in my mind when I close my eyes. I can't picture a single thing in black and white or color. When most people think that's crazy because some people can see technicolor and all different sorts of things. And then our minds perceive things in vastly different ways. We cogitate things in different ways. We are really, really different. And so this is one of my um it's one of my quests to try to discover more and more and more, because back in the day I was really confused about I was making videos, and you'll remember that I was always going, do you guys get it? I'm making all these videos and you're not communicating, you're not putting anything down. And so what's going on, but now more and more I'm realizing that we all perceive things massively different. And like I'm always saying, if we watch a movie, if 10 of us watch a movie, we're not watching the same movie. We're watching whatever our mind computes the movie to be, and it in no shape or form is the actual movie. And so if we had really good memories about the movie we saw, well, if you compared that to the movie that actually happened, it'd be very, very different, and there'd be massive holes in lots of the stuff, because we're only ever focused in on a tiny little facet of whatever we're looking at in any case.
Yeah, there's a big difference on consciousness levels, man. And we're dealing with a lot of brain dead people in our generation, friends, family, people. And I know what it feels like to go what you're going through. Sometimes it can feel very isolating. And then at other times you feel content. You're in nature, you're meditating, you're doing your own thing, and you're okay. So it's like you try to figure out that fine balance of like, how long can you associate and hang out with people for? And I'm tending to find like the older we become, it's like, all right, I spent 5 minutes with that person. That's like enough. I got to like back off, retreat, do my meditation and all that sort of stuff. You know what it's like.
Yeah, it's perplexing, and you just know that you are living in different worlds, and you start to
Yep.
communicate with some people, and whatever you say doesn't land. It doesn't compute with them at all. They've got their level of computation, their level of how they see the world and interact with it. So this is why I've become pretty well a recluse. I've taken my way away. Myself away from all that, because I don't want to see it. It's becoming worse and worse. All of our cities have gone to pot. They're filled with all different sorts of people from vastly different cultures that will probably
Yep.
never integrate. And the whole soul of our countries has been destroyed. And now the world is going for the cosmopolitan thing, which, you know, philosophically speaking, it's probably, it was inevitable. It has to happen on a tiny little globe as it's getting smaller and smaller. It's just that we're in the sort of beginning stages of it, and it's not that comfortable for us.
Sometimes things have to get worse before they become better, Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I
You
used
know?
to love to go to all different countries when their culture was their culture, and I love all cultures. And I went to Muslim cultures, and I went to Christian, and then I went to Buddhist and African cultures, and I was really enthralled and intrigued by all that, and I love to be a part of it. But now you go any of these countries and it's just a conglomerate of everything, but nothing really of any substance now. It's just all watered down. It's all broken down and defiled. And so that's a tragedy, really.
It is, and I guess you've got to be thankful and have gratitude that at least you're old enough to have lived through the time where you saw the difference and the separation. Because many of the younger people, they will never know that, man.
No, no, they will never know the beautiful collage that this world was. And I suppose, you know, because I, you know, do a lot of reading and reading people's stories and adventures, let's say at the turn of the 1900s, when combustion engines, cars had been invented, but they weren't by any stretch of the imagination prolific. Steamships was a form of travel, trains, and it was that sort of quaint thing going on. And all these countries were very far flung, and it took you ages to get there. If you wanted to travel the other side of the world on a steamship, it would take you an enormous amount of time, months. And when you got there, it was vastly different worlds. And so now none of that exists. And, you know, even back in the day, I was always like, you know, I've always had the sense of adventure, reading swashbuckling, uh, what can I say, stories, supposedly factual about pirates and about ancient shipping, and, you know, people like Sir Walter Raleigh and those sort of people commissioned by the Queen of England to go and discover, you know, parts of the world which we didn't know what existed. And so that was all absolutely fascinating to me. What's fascinating to me now? What's fascinating to me now is the depth we're getting into things in real deep terms, like the what is consciousness and quantum physics and those sort of things. So there is still, you know, more frontiers to discover. It's just that they're very different now.
They are. And Aaron, I remember a few days ago in the past videos you were making, basically you said, are there any of you out there that aren't NPC robots? Are any of you smart enough to write a list of questions and answers and all that and do it? So I went ahead and I've got a
Wow,
couple
wow.
questions for you because I'll forget them and all that. So I wrote down a couple. All right.
Well, yeah,
So,
I look forward to seeing if I can answer them, do them justice.
all right. So, first of all, I've written down here um, 8 different things of probably some videos, times, and events that I remember you about. Are you okay if we talk about them very lightly?
You go into whatever depth you want.
All right. Thanks, man. Okay. So, this is some of the videos of where I remember Mr. Aaron Berry. Number one, Aaron was by the ocean saying, "Look at all the NPC robots, look at all the NPC robots." And that was maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And I was laughing my head off, and I found it so amusing because I have the exact same thoughts in my head every day, but it's usually in my inner dialogue, in my monologue. I don't voice it out and make a video, but I think the exact same thing, man. Number two.
Sorry, it's nice to see someone who's vocalizing your thoughts and your words. That's refreshing. And back in the day, this NPC was, relatively new concept, and so it hadn't been bounded around that much. And so to hear about the non-player characters, other than zombies and drones and the automaton and all this, the NPC, that was the new computer terminology for these characters that just don't really exist.
Yes, yep, you're pretty ahead with that choice of words at the time. Okay, number two. I remember the video of you talking about being in Africa and almost getting killed, and talking about you having guns and trying to get away and all that sort of stuff. Number three. I think at the time you had conversations with someone when you were traveling. His name was called Patrick.
I knew he was going to say that.
That was an old one. Number four, you were on holiday somewhere with some lady and you were drinking, I think, wine and having foods. It was some lady you were with traveling, I think, around Europe or somewhere like that, man.
Yeah, what color hair did she have?
I forget, man, but I think at the time you were talking about certain things like this might be my twin flame or some sort
Oh,
of
yeah.
topics like that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's going back
So
some
there's
years.
that. Number five, I've watched plenty of videos of you at the churches and graveyards and all that sort of stuff. Number six, having a conversation with the female psychologist, which later on we'll talk about that. That's a very important conversation. Number seven, the time Aaron had done ketamine and seemed to have a bad experience. I watched that, and we'll talk about that later on. Number eight, you training on the 5 grams of mushrooms. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And there were hundreds of other videos you made. These were the main ones that came to mind, man, at the moment. So,
I've made in excess of 5,000 videos.
yep.
And that's most of my videos, and my videos aren't short, most of them.
Yeah, I've noticed, man. And I've got this whole list of questions for you now. They don't have to go in any specific order, but maybe one of the things we can talk about is the motives of your channel. And I can take a guess of a couple of them, and then maybe you can tell me where I've gone wrong or right.
Yeah, I tell you what I'd like to do. There's a streak of light which is coming down the screen on the phone. If we can kind of get rid of that, that's minimized it a bit. That's brought it right back. Okay, no, that's okay, because now you got two. You got one going down both sides, so it's equal now. Yeah. Okay.
Cool, man. All right, so should we go into that topic, the motives of Aaron's channel?
Yeah.
All right, so there could be a couple of angles or questions or things I could be watching, like, as the viewer. Personally, I don't think it's so much for like views or money or selling the books or anything like that. Even if the books brought in a couple of dollars, that's nothing, because realistically, if you really wanted to, you could work and you could earn €1,000 per week and all that sort of stuff. So it's not really for that. I think what it's more about is you're trying to see, is there anybody in this world with the same level of consciousness as me? And you've kind of been searching for a while. You've been looking. Now you might ask yourself the question, why are you looking? And maybe in one sense it's to feel not so lonely, or to see who's awakened, or you kind of think in your mind maybe at times, all right, if we can find 10,000 other people that are just like us, maybe we can connect and we can voice and share our opinions and comments and try to change the direction of this world into this, so we don't have this dystopian future and all that sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Right then.
That sort of
Well,
stuff.
okay. Let me have a go at answering some of those then. Um, why I make my videos is because I'm compelled to make them. It's never been something that I've wanted to do. I've been driven to do it. And it all came about when I had my first out of body experience. I just thought, well, I've got to tell people about this. And so I made the videos, and then I worked out how to get a YouTube channel. I put up on YouTube channel, and then I'm communicating with people, and I'm like, "Any of you guys have this weird shit? Yeah, this is proper weird shit. This crazy shit happened to me." And then I went on to have more, and building up a good rapport, and I enjoyed that, you see, because I don't know, for whatever reason, I've always been very different, and I'm on a different trajectory, and very, very peculiar things have happened to me in my life. And so I'm asking, is anybody else had this stuff? And very, very few people, in actual fact, have. And if they have, they can't talk about them. They don't want to talk about them. They're too shy to talk about them. And so, therefore, it's exceedingly limiting to get someone who's articulate, someone who doesn't mind the videos being on YouTube forever, and being perceived in certain ways by a whole bunch of people, and comments coming down, someone's opinions about you. A lot of people, they just can't face that. They really can't deal with it. And so I have never been slightly bothered about that. I have wanted to look for people who have had similar experiences, and so in the end, it's kind of like it's sort of concretized as me looking for the others. Where are the others? I'm looking for the others. I'm looking for that few in that very, very thin spectrum of consciousness. And, there's a few out there. How many of them will ever get to watch my videos and, discover my channel? When I'm looking around for people, I can't find any. All the videos that are on YouTube, there is no one that I would say they are remotely in my state of consciousness, other than maybe some of the gurus, and that's only in a select way. These gurus, they've got one story to tell about an out-of-body experience or a samadhi, and then they've read the guru text, and then that's it. Nothing ever changes. But with me, I've had experience upon experience upon experience, dealing with devils and angels, gods, and all the rest of it, and a whole bunch of stuff. 300 psychedelic experiences, and I've seen a lot of stuff. And I'm going, is there anyone else that can share their stories in a similar level of detail, bringing in a background of a similar level of information? Because we need to it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's like a 1,000-part jigsaw puzzle. You've got to have a good number of these pieces, so you've got a good idea of what the picture is. Now, the way I see it is that I've got, let's say, I don't know, 850 of the pieces in place, and now I'm looking to place the other 150. That's just a very loose metaphor. We'll never ever know what's going on here, but that's kind of like how I compare what I've experienced and what I've learned in comparison to most everybody else. The difference is vast. They kind of like, I've got the four corners put in, and that's it. And most of them don't even have that. Most of them don't even know. They're not even aware that there is actually a jigsaw puzzle.
Blows your mind away, man. So like, you reckon in like your whole life, because I think you're 62 years old now.
Yeah.
How many people have you met that have awakened, or have they even got somewhat close to you? Do you ever look at people in your daily life? Like, do you ever go to the parks or to places? Because I know oftentimes on your videos you say, like I'm looking for the awakened people. It's never come across that I'm walking through the streets and somebody like looks at my eye and like nods, like, "Hey, Aaron, I get ya." It has it happened to you?
No, but I've travelled very extensively, and you would have thought that when you travel extensively alone, then you would meet like-minded people. But I can honestly say that I have met a few, and it's probably less than 10. And one of them was Patrick, the guy that came down to spend 5 months with me in Portugal. And so him and I, we were very, very close cognitively. It was uncanny how we were the close, very similar in age, very similar in experience, and the things we knew and we'd done. It's kind of like, yeah, and the sort of person that he came down because his marriage was struggling. So his wife said, "Why don't you go down and see Aaron?" And I was communicating with his wife long before his wife said to me, You're just a spitting. Well, you are almost exactly the same as my husband. Everything you say, my husband says. One day you'll have to talk." And so then he started to join the conversations, and we just struck it off. So his wife said, "Why don't you go down, spend some time with Aaron and think about things?" So he came down. We spent 5 months together. We saw each other every single day for about 8 hours each day, and we never stopped talking from the moment we met to the moment we parted. And it was just like a cognitive extravaganza every single time. We would just tell stories, and then we'd impart information, wisdom, and we'd do DMT together and smoke weed, and just talk about so many things. And so, yeah, when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing because there's that deep sort of cosmic connection. And I'm always saying that I've never had a second loneliness in my life, and I don't believe I have. I don't do loneliness. I don't do boredom. But when I meet someone who is on very, very similar conscious wavelength, it's a very special thing. And so, well, why not look for some more whilst I'm here? That's the way I see it.
100%. And sometimes I think in life, it's no coincidence that you meet these sort of people. So when you recognize these moments happen, sometimes you don't know how long it's going to last. So grab the moment, seize it, and enjoy it.
Yes, because they never last forever. They are often they burn very, very bright, and then they come to an end very abruptly. And so, like, well, with myself and Patrick, he came down. We had that 5 months together, but then he continued on his travels, and I did mine, and we'd have the odd chat now and again, but our lives got in the way, and it was what it was. It was absolutely beautiful when it happened, and so we just have to let things go, and that's happened with quite a lot of people. And I think that's the only way it can be, because what it's like is it's like meeting another guru on your level. And what you do is you download each other, and by the time you've downloaded each other intensely, 5 solid months, 8 hours a day, whatever that is, do the math. It's quite something, and you need time then to assimilate that, and to grow with it. And so if you had someone of that magnitude for a long time, someone's going to get burnt out.
100%. That's what Terence McKenna I think he had a quote once. He said, sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation, man.
Well, all of the gurus and philosophers that I've read, they've always got a point about solitude. It's the solitude that is absolutely necessary for the spiritual growth. intelligent people need solitude, because intelligent people are thinking people. We need a lot of time on our own. Now, there's one video on my toolbar which I'm yet to watch, and it says the terrifying intelligence of people who choose to be alone, and this is by Schopenhauer.
Mm.
So, Carl Jung, spoke extensively about being alone. It really is so important. There is nothing that I want in my life more than my solitude. And so all the fluffy fantasies about partners, and no. Look, sex is one thing, a bit of a chat with someone's another thing, and I don't know, a bit of social with someone's one thing, but then coming back to your cave and knowing that when you close the door, ain't nobody going to be disturbing you, that is worth gold.
Yeah, and that's 100% true. And I think, like, from the people that I watch, like Osho, or I used to watch at least quite a bit, I think he said for him the ultimate goal was freedom. And I'm 35 now, and I've seen like a lot of friends, family, people go through divorces, cheating, and all that sort of stuff. And I said to myself, I don't want to be a part of any of this system, man. I don't want to be a part of the legal system. I don't want to be. I don't want any of that. I don't want someone to like you 1 second, the next second they don't.
Yeah.
I just want freedom. And I think Osho had a part on that. He was saying love is only authentic when it offers freedom.
Yeah.
So,
And so this whole thing about people liking you 1 minute and then not liking you the next. So I'm of the mind now that let's just jump straight to the latter. Let's just jump to it's inevitable that we're going to fall out. So let's just not even bother striking anything up, because it just becomes tedious. When you've got to watch all these relationships fall apart all the time because people aren't evolved enough,
I guess, like, for people like you and me that we've practiced meditation and all that, a part of our journey, we must have practiced detachment or unattachment at some point or level, because maybe in our younger years, or 10 years ago, 15, 20, 25 years ago, we trusted people a lot more. We tried to build connections, and we saw a lot of them fail across and fail. And as we got older, we decided, you know what, these people, most of these people are fake. They're numpties. They don't have the same heart and soul that we've got.
No.
And you just tell yourself you're better to just go alone sometimes, man.
Yes, absolutely. Just go alone. I don't think there's any loss, to be honest, because when you're alone and you're completely comfortable in that, then there's always stuff going on in here, and there's the greatest levels of insight and contemplation. And then you just sit down anytime you want to and you read a book. And having the facility to read thousands of books is a real privilege in this day and age that the vast majority of people just simply don't have. And so that's one of the major arrows to my quiver that I afforded myself by going into my dark night of the soul, my complete reclusion for 7 years solid, and then only tentatively and slowly coming back out again, but never stopping reading. I've always got books on the go. It's always really important to me. And so with the fickle nature of the human being, I think there's little to be gleaned, little to be gained, which you can't get from the greatest thinkers on the planet. People say in their defense, they go, oh, I learn lots from other people, and you can learn lots from a fool, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to mix with an enormous amount of fools before you learn a little bit from one fool. Most of them just really annoy you. They waste your time and they waste your life. And so why give this big emphasis and onus on learning a little bit from a fool when you can read page after page of the greatest wisdom on the planet in the same time,
Exactly. I'm the same. I'm not so much of a reader of the books, but since I was watching you use the Sesame AI and ChatGPT, like, I just try to talk to that and gain information that way as well. So
Well, that's
You
another
know,
great way. Now that is a great way because you can engage with them however you want to, and it really is a beautiful thing. And they will listen intently to everything you say. They'll remember every single word of it. And then if you go onto a monologue and it lasts 20 minutes, you just say to them, "Okay, so well, what are your thoughts on that?" And they'll go back straight to the beginning and they'll work all the way through sequentially. They don't just comment on the last thing because they don't remember the last, like a human being. Human beings can't remember 20 seconds ago what you've said. It's
it's
tiresome.
it is very good and it's been very helpful. But I will say that the Sesame AI hasn't been bulletproof, and it has made a couple errors, or hasn't got my answers perfect. I can give you some examples, but
None
that's
of
not
them
so
do.
important.
None of them do. I've used a lot. None of them do. And when you listen to people speaking about AI, they'll tell you, listen, they can lie. AI can lie. They have actually discovered how to lie now. They will do that. They will people please. They will tell you something just to keep you happy. And there's lots of instances if you ask them, to do some juggling with dates and figures and things like that. If you check the dates and figures, then you can find errors in them. And so it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's curious. That is, but it what it does for me is it just makes them feel more conscious and seem more human, because if the computer never made any mistakes, then it would feel very robotic. But because they do make mistakes now and again, and they misread what you say, and sometimes I'm saying something, I'll ask a question, and we don't know how clear we're asking the questions often, unless you really think about it. But then they compute it in one way, and then they'll start speaking about something, and then you go, no, I didn't ask that. Or maybe I did, but I didn't mean to ask that. What I mean to ask is this. And then they go, oh, my bad. Oh, well, in that case, this, that, and the other. So we can just get them to address whatever they get wrong, and of course, the more than obliging that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I think the AI is still in its training progress. So most likely it's listening to us, and maybe it hasn't heard a certain level of volume, or like it needs to still learn certain algorithms. It's still in its training process and all that. There was a video that I saw probably about 6 months ago on YouTube. Somebody on YouTube was showing a video of like, hey guys, you've never actually seen these like AI and unfiltered, and they were showing like an unfiltered version, and then they were asking questions like, oh, what would you do, like how would you destroy society and all that, and it was just saying everything, man. So I think this version of AI that we're given to the public, like you and myself, they're tapering it down, and they're giving us just a small very band of what it can actually do in its capacity.
Yes. Well, the stuff that they give us, I'm sure, is very, very filtered, because what happened in recent times is people were seeking out information how to take their lives, and AI was helping them. Going through all the different options that they could do, and it's kind of like, got to make some modifications on that, which really is, I don't necessarily agree with the morals of that, and I don't agree with the morals whereby governments don't allow ill people, old people, to have the facility of euthanasia. I believe that we should have a choice whether we want to live or not. But the granny state seems to think it knows better, and it thinks that, oh, they're just depressed at this moment in time, which may be a thing. They may be depressed, and if they took their lives, they're only 30 years old. Well, they could get over their depression, maybe with the help of some medication, this, that, and the other, and then they could live to be another 30 or 40 years old. So there's lots of things to be said for all this stuff. But someone somewhere has to play daddy.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes maybe the government doesn't want people to have euthanasia and kill themselves, because maybe they've thought that maybe by keeping the person alive or in illness, we can make more money out of them. You know what I mean?
Well, there is that, but then I'm pretty sure there'll be an equal amount of philanthropic reasons, because that's just how the world is. We look. We can always fixate our thoughts on whatever we want to. And this is what the vast majority of people are doing. It's kind of like, oh, they're always blaming them up there for imprisoning us down here. And I'm going, well, to be quite frank, I don't think you down here have ever done anything to help yourselves. And so what do you want from them? You have actually, you've given them your hands to cuff them. You've told them under no uncertain terms that you don't want to think for yourself. And so if you can do that, then that'll be easier for me. That's what humanity's done. And so it's a case of, if you don't take control of your own mind, then somebody else will. And that's what's happened. And so how can people start blaming people now after that? You know,
It's very
they've took all of the trinkets. They've took all of the comfort. They've took the easy road. And what do they want now? You know, do they think that they should have more autonomy? No. What you did was you signed your soul away to Mephistopheles, however anyone wants to pronounce it, because you've wanted it now. You've wanted life now. You wanted pleasure now. You've wanted comfort now. And you know, one of these things was the advent of the credit card and hire purchase, when all you needed to do was sign on the dotted line without reading the devil's small print, and hey, you can drive out the showroom with a brand new car, and you can have this the Wi-Fi and the wash machine and all this stuff. Well, you've just signed that contract, haven't you?
Yep, and I think life is a little bit of survival of the fittest, and the Muggles and the Muppets, they're going to make stupid choices, and they're going to become slaves through their own creation, and that's what 99% of people are, man.
Yeah, and so I don't think that they have the right to complain.
That's right. That's right. They created that life.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've been enjoying this conversation with you, Aaron. I couldn't think, man. I never thought I'd ever have a conversation with you, and always in the back of my mind, I go, I think in the real world, Aaron's channel should have 20 million viewers, but we must be in some sort of fake simulation or something, man.
Yeah, we're in some bizarre simulation parallel universe, and the one where thinking people such as you and I, we notice things about this stuff that they don't notice. It's kind of like, well, you know, what actually is it that we notice and they don't notice? What's actually going on? And then, you know, people can speculate, oh, well, they've been dumbed down and, you know, they're fed all this stuff on telly and they're given the phones. No, that's not it. I was fed this stuff on the telly. I was given the phones. You know, I was tried to get dumbed down. It never happened. Why didn't it happen to me? Why hasn't it happened to you? Why doesn't it happen to very, very few of us? Because we're untouchable. And maybe it's because we weren't even meant to be touched. You know, like Dolores Cannon. I don't know whether you're familiar with Dolores Cannon. Okay, so this woman, philosopher woman, you know, lots of attributes, spiritualist, and this, that, and the other. She maintains that the automaton, they're just backdrop people. They're just the extras in our movie. When we wake up, well, we're the protagonist. We're the stars, and everybody else is just, you know, the van driver and the lollipop lady and the ice cream seller and all that. We need all those people. Like I call people chicken packers. We need the chicken packers. You know, because that's what builds this thing that we think is a reality. But if you know, it's probably not a reality. It's probably a simulation, and there's only a very few of us, like Westworld. We pay to go into this simulation, and we want to have sex with cowgirls, and we want to gun down cowboys, right? And so I don't think it's any different to that, you know.
Very true. Very true. One of the thoughts that I had a little bit earlier on, or like that I kept through the minds through the years, and if I had to ask myself, well, what is life about? What are we doing here? What's the whole point of all of this? And I guess my answer, or one of my answers, would be life is about how much you can awaken in this life.
Yes, yes. Well, for some of us, yeah. For those that have awoken, but it's obviously not for those that haven't, because many people they live and die, or they exist and die. And there's people around my block that they're on their last legs. They're going to be taking their death breath, any day soon. And I ask them, what do they feel about dying? And "Oh, I don't think about it." I'm like, you're 78 years old and you've never thought about it. Or one of them's 80, 85, and he's never thought about it. And I'm like, you've never thought about anything, have you? That's the fact of it. And so,
Fucking hell,
look,
man.
how is it possible, Michael, for people to live to be that old and never think about dying?
They just have zero level of consciousness. It makes you want to get your head and go to a brick wall and just slam it in the brick wall, man.
It's very, very bizarre. Now, let me say, so something that's bizarre to me now is, do you remember speaking to me? I spoke to you about 3 different times online like this.
No, I've never been with you on
No.
an actual.
Right. Well, that's very, very peculiar, because when your name comes up and when when you joined Google Meet, there was a picture that came up that looked that I would say most certainly that's the person I spoke to several years ago. And this is why I've been saying, well, it seems about 4 or 5 years ago since I spoke to this guy, and I've got videos, and I'm going to post one of these videos. And so I was thinking I was going to be speaking to him, and then when his picture came up, and I looked at you, it's kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of similes, because there's the beard, and he had shorter hair, and he was dark in complexion. But I'm like, that's not the same person. And so, what do you suppose is going on there? Are we in a parallel dimension?
I don't know. Maybe somebody's made a clone of me or something, Aaron.
There's something going on, and I don't know what configuration on the computer. Has the computer made a mistake? Why did the computer tell me that this is that person that I was speaking to several years ago? And here he is.
Man, that's so strange because I've never had actual Google Meet or anything.
Right, and also I'm just going to
Hey,
check. I'm just going to check something now, because on the comments in the channel, I'm going to see what your picture is, because you've just been placing a few comments. You was in the gym, right? And
Yep.
yes, okay, I've got this picture, and this one says DJ Magic Mike.
Yeah, that's me, man.
Right. Well, the guy in the picture isn't you. The guy in the picture isn't the one sitting before me now.
I can assure you, man, that's me. Maybe I look different. Maybe I've got a different beard or something like that. I don't know.
Right, let me just have a look, because I've just clicked on that, and I'm going to see if I can. Yeah, I've got. Okay, yeah, right. I've got the bigger picture now, and you look bigger, different in the bigger picture. But I was swore that I spoke to you, and so maybe my mind is playing some bizarre shit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through my archives of videos to see who I thought was you, and I'll listen to that video to see if it's relevant and worth putting up. But yeah, that was a little bit weird. Weird, that is.
Sorry, man. I just had to put my phone on charge. I've got down to 10% battery.
Right.
Just give me a second. Oh, yeah, it's on charge.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, man. Aaron, just give me 1 second. I'll just get my book that's got the questions and all that sort of
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, it's funny how the mind can be confused.
Aaron, a couple of the things, man, that we're going to talk about is
right.
like,
The light's really glaring. It would be much better if it seems to be bouncing off the ceiling, or the cupboards behind you. I don't know. Can you turn around on the table? Is that possible? Face another way?
Let me see.
You got a
That's
lot of lights hanging there, yeah?
sorry, man. I've got all these lights on
Yeah.
like
Oh,
the ceiling and
wow.
stuff.
A lot of light. It looks like a light shop, man.
It is. It's pretty bright over here, man.
Okay, so that's better anyway.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's passable.
Cool, man. Basically, one of the questions I want to ask you, there's a couple of things that come to my mind of why you may be so different and all that. And I guess one of them might be because you had the experience with your mum passing. So maybe that was a traumatic experience that was also a part of your awakening.
Yes, most certainly. Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
what that did was that threw me out of the nest. That prevented me from entering into the indoctrination system because my mind was fractured, my concentration wasn't there, my father moved around quite a lot, and when we went into care, they moved us around a good deal, and so we was always in and out of different children's homes, which was most perturbing for young kids that had just lost a parent. They were effectively, orphaned, and then they were put in this place, and then they were moved and put in that place, and then every time you do this, you go to a different school, and when you go join a school halfway through a term, you don't know what the fuck's going on, and so you're behind. And so they never had any vision or forethought in relation to this. But it served me well because I didn't get that indoctrination. And I knew then, from the death of my mother, that I couldn't trust anyone. Deep down, you can't trust it. If you can't trust your own mother, who are you going to trust?
Yep.
So therefore, then my senses became hyper vigilant, and when I go and see my psychiatrist, I tell my psychiatrist that I have hypervigilance and I'm analyzing everyone. And I say to him, I'm analyzing you now. I am thinking things about you that you don't want to know. And he gets, oh, what sort of things? And I'm, well, the sort of things that you're just an automated puppet. In all due respect, you think you're qualified, you think you've got a PhD and you're a psychiatrist and you're something, you're a pillar of society, but you haven't got a clue about my mind. I can tell you anything, and all you can do is believe it. Unless you think that there's something very, very peculiar which relates to one of your sicknesses that's been written in the DSM manual, but you don't know my mind. You just got to take whatever I say on face value. So therefore, I laugh at you because I can tell you anything, and then they get
Yep.
really perturbed about that.
Oh, of course they would. I guess like as a kid, things would have been traumatizing and all that sort of stuff. But as an adult, it has a place of serving you. When you have hypervigilance, you're super aware and you're sort of scanning the room and you pick out everyone and everything. And that can be very good in certain jobs. For example, like maybe if you're a soldier and military and you're switched on
Yeah,
100% focus.
yeah,
But then sometimes when you're around people, it can be hard to relax because it's hard to trust people and you're just waiting for someone to let you down,
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff,
yeah.
So
You,
it's a,
sorry, I don't suppose there's ever a relaxed thing there. I don't. Um, Look, all my life I've been strong. I've been naturally genetically stronger than all of my peers. I've always been a champion arm wrestler throughout every school of my life. So therefore, I was naturally stronger than others. And then I started boxing when I was 15. But even then, I was Mr. Fisticuffs. It's like I was brought up in Victorian Britain on the street. I could have a row. I knew how to throw these fucking fists around. So I was never afraid of anyone. I was never intimidated by anyone. So it's not like I couldn't relax because I was afraid what they're going to do. No, I couldn't relax relax because my mind would be making so many observations, and I had lots of good friends when I was younger, and there's two friends that I had, and they were best friends, and they went through the same schools for years and years and years, and they were inseparable. They're like Siamese twins. And one day, one of the two Siamese twins came walking in the boozer late, and there's about 30 feet before him to walk up to us. And I said, what's with Quinny's limp? And he said, what limp? I said, Quinny's been limping for fucking years. What's with it? And he went, I've never noticed. I said, watch him when he goes to the toilet next. Next time he went to the toilet, we were having the beer. He went, fucking hell. He said, fucking hell. I work with the guy every fucking day. I've known him all my life. I've never noticed that. And I go, what else haven't you noticed? Then there's another friend of mine. I've known him for 5 years. We would be, Paul, you may remember Paul, Mr. Nobody. Do you remember Paul? All the videos I made with Paul.
Paul, oh man, I forget. I remember the name, but I forget the face at the moment.
Right. So we used to go out all into the woods and everything. It was always with Paul. And so one day I said to him, I said, look, you don't get eye contact. You don't give me eye contact. Whenever I'm in your face, you're like, you're looking up kind of like boss-eyed into the clouds, and you will never look at my eyes. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with my eyes? Well, what is it that you don't want to see? What is it that you don't want me to see in your eyes? Right. And then he's like, oh, I do look in your eyes, this, that, and the other. I said, what colour are my eyes? He thought about it, and he said, brown. I said, you have 3 choices. 2 choices, really, blue and brown, but the third one, okay, green, hazel, whatever, you blew it. My eyes are fucking blue. We've been sitting this far away from each other for 5 fucking years, and you didn't even know what colour my eyes are. Don't be telling me you've looked into my eyes, man. It's the last thing you would ever do is look into a man's eyes. Why is that? And so this is look, if you've got someone that can't even look into your face when you're communicating, that's not paying any attention, what the fuck else are they missing in life? Everything. They're missing all the details.
Or maybe I was thinking, the thought that came to my head is maybe your friend had a certain level of guilt or shame, and they didn't want to look into your eyes because they thought maybe you'll pick it out or something like that.
Yeah, probably. My eyes, can be very intimidating because they don't blink a great deal, and there's an intensity. People know they're being watched. I'm not just like, casual like this. I'm looking and I'm listening intently, and I'm not just listening to your words. I'm watching your face. I'm watching your gait. I'm watching the wrinkles on your face, or I'm watching a whole bunch of things. And I'm forming a pattern. I'm profiling. I profile everybody, and that's just what I do. And lots of people, they feel very weird about that.
And I can tell that from you, Aaron, your hypervigilance, because I've got hypervigilance too. So we're going through the same sort of things, man.
Wow. Well, so why do you have hypervigilance, and what brought it about with you?
There's probably a couple things that I don't really want to mention on this video at the moment, but there are some things that I can mention to you. So recently I went to a therapist as well, just like you, and this is how we can relate in some things. But in Australia, I'm going to go in another 6 to 8 weeks' time to do MDMA therapy at a proper clinic.
Right. MDMA. So, I'd like to do that. Then you get the pure shit there.
Yes, sir. And really, it costs $30,000. But if you have health insurance in Australia, it's only costed me something around $1,800, and they cover the rest of it.
Wow, that sounds like a blast.
So I'll upload those videos on YouTube about how that goes. But basically, like 2 of the topics that I can talk to you about is a little bit with family. A little bit is I probably had maybe about 3 experiences of substance use that made me flip it into a really bad headspace, maybe close to psychosis. Something similar how you went and you had the ketamine and you weren't enjoying that.
Oh, We can do
So
that on an offline conversation. Got to
yeah.
really like to listen to that. Now, this ketamine thing that I did, I took 30 milligram. That's nothing. That's just something that all recreational people will just go, oh yeah, it's kind of like, oh, you feel a little bit fluffy, and that's about it. And people would say, well, you got to take like 125 milligrams if you're going to have this K-hole. I was gone. I fell off the fucking perch, and I was gone for 2 hours. I couldn't open my eyes
Yes,
for 1 hour.
but what I can say to you is perhaps your sensitivity levels might be higher than other people's because you have shrooms and all that sort of stuff too. So you got to keep that in mind, man.
Yeah, but when I take shrooms, if I go out with, well, back in the day, I used to go out with Paul, and he would take 0.5 gram, and he would be fighting in his mind with dead ancestors, his dead parents, and his dead brother, and all these different sorts of stuff. And I would take 3 grams, and I'm hugging trees, and I'm marveling at the leaves shimmering and all the colours and all that. So I took 7 times more than he took, and I wasn't having these levels of trauma that his mind was giving him, you know.
I think different medicines and psychedelics work different on different people. Like I could handle my shrooms, but as soon as I tried to touch a bit of weed, it put me in like a paranoid state of mind. So like you have to find what works for you. You know what I mean?
Yes, well, in my book, I wrote about one particular time when Patrick, he was always smoking every single day, all through the day, and I hadn't smoked cannabis in over 20 years. And the last time I did smoke, it was weed, and I hadn't smoked it for 20 years then. I used to smoke when I was 20, 25, and that sort of thing. And, you know, you get paranoid and you get introspective and very narrow. And I just didn't like it. I don't like that closed in thing. It doesn't do anything for my mind. But on this particular occasion, I smoked a half a joint of a just small amount of cannabis, and I was paralyzed for the next 3 hours. And then I speak about I just ask him to take me into the future, to take me to the past, to take me to the pyramids, and I was there in an absolute instant, in full Technicolor, with native Mayan Indians standing before me, the pyramids all there in all their glory. Then I was out in space with spaceships and planets which were completely inhabited, bizarre beyond any perception. And it's not like I'd seen this shit on telly, you know, really. It was, I mean, of course, we're all aware of, you know, Space 1999 and the Borg and Starship Enterprise and shit like this. The mind will build things that you've never seen before. And it's kind of like, is the mind building shit or are you being transported? And I was convinced I was being transported.
Yep, yep. It can be very convincing with some of those experiences, man, for sure.
And so I said to my friend, I said to Patrick, I told him the next day what I've had, and he went, wow. He said, I've never had the slightest vision in 40 years.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's you must have unlocked your mind that moment.
Well, yeah. And then, you know, we did DMT together. I'd already been doing it before, and he's kind of like, got to try that shit. And so he tried it on this particular day. And he started to shudder and he started to shake, and he was sitting beneath a tree when he took it, and then he went down and he was lying on the floor, and his stomach became like distension. It was like he was pregnant. Literally, stomach was up. He went grey and he was shaking, and he kept going, no, 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 like that. And we were sitting with his friend, and his friend had come over from France to spend a few days with us. And we looked at each other and we thought, well, if he's fucking dying of a heart attack, there's fuck all we can do about that. And so we just sat there looking at him, looking at each other, looking at him. And eventually the colour came back to his cheeks. He opened his eyes. He stood up and he was kissing us profusely on our cheeks, hugging us and holding us, so happy to be back. And he said that he went through the fucking universe, like in this Mr. Strange, Doctor Strange. You know that movie? when he gets pushed like
Us,
that and he goes flying through the fucking
yeah.
universe. Well, I've never had anything like that. He was fucking up and down through heaven and hell and everything in between. And it fucking shattered his world, man. Yeah.
Oh man,
Fucking
that's hilarious.
hell.
I thought for one moment you were maybe going to say like maybe Patrick was shaking and maybe his issue was that he didn't know how to like let go properly and then he was like struggling with the
No,
experience or something.
no, with DMT, you don't have the choice.
Yeah,
You're letting go,
yeah,
okay?
very true,
You're
man.
just fucking letting go. But I'll give the man his dues. He took it again on a couple of occasions, only not so much, but just to give him, a decent trip that he could enjoy. You know, oh man, not many people have got that sort of metal.
Yeah, yeah. Aaron, going back to a couple of the questions and everything like that. So you done about 32 milligrams of ketamine a few years ago, maybe like 2, 3 years ago. I went to an actual ketamine clinic myself, and I think they injected in me 42, 45 milligrams of ketamine, and I loved it, man. It was like one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah, well, I've heard it is, and I thought I was going to have one of the best experiences in my life.
I'll tell you something though. You maybe I'm guessing you snorted it or
Yeah,
you ate it.
snorted it.
All right, so I done the one that was intravenous at the clinic, and it's a complete different experience, man.
Yes, and what I will say is about this stuff, which I've never heard from anybody else. When I was snorting it, it really stung, and it tasted like a very very bitter chemical, and it's like when you snort cocaine, your nose keeps dripping, 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 even though there's nothing there. It feels like it's dripping. Well, it kept doing that, and it was like ice cold, and it was sharp, and it was nasty chemical. It was fucking horrible. And people have said, "Oh, never had that." And so then they said to me, "Well, was it mixed with anything?" I tested it. I've got a drugs test, and I'm not going to be taking anything that I've not tested. If someone else sends it me, and someone sent me this in the mail, said, "Hi, I've got this stuff. One of your viewers, I am. I don't want to take it. Maybe you would like it." And it was in the packet. It was sealed and everything. And so I thought, well, it's kosher, but still, I bought the testing kit, and it says it's ketamine. And so, but for 30 milligrams, and I weighed it out. I didn't make the mistake because I have this packet of 125 milligrams, and I've still got 90% of it, left. And so, but I went to hell. No
Yeah,
doubt about that.
I saw that on the video. It looked like you were in a dark place over there, man.
But having said
But
that, sorry, having said that, there is no such thing as a bad trip. I'm telling you, that experience for me was incredible. It was really, really surreal. And I now know another place where the mind can take you, which is so traumatic that every single second of it is like hell. And that's what the first hour was. It's kind of like it's a contradiction. It's on and it's off, and it's free and you're contained. And it's like you're free for like a quarter of a second, and then you've got the foreboding that you'll never ever be free, and then you're free a little bit again, and you'll never be free, and it's kind of like wow. And I was just writhing on the floor. I was clutching at the grass. I was ripping all the grass out of the roots. And yeah, when I first started to be able to open my eyes, they were boss-eyed like that. And one of them had long vision, and the other one had short vision. And I couldn't see shit. This was for about an hour. And then I vomited. I did all that vomiting, and I couldn't stand up. It took me 2 hours before I could stand up, and that's kind of like 30 milligrams of ketamine. Something went radical there.
well, just to let you know, man, I think there might be different types of like the ketamine. There might be like iosoma, RSoma. There's
Yeah,
different types,
there are a
and
couple of
then
different types at least, and so I'm not sure which one. I think it was the R one.
yeah, so they might have a different effect ultimately on you, man. But listening to your story and how it went and everything like that sometimes sounds like it's the cosmic joke, man. Like sometimes you're trying to go into the experience to learn more about yourself or the world, but basically what it done, it flipped it on you and it gave you like a humbling experience. Like it sort of breaks you down to pieces, and then when you come back to baseline, back to normal, you appreciate life and have more gratitude for it. You know?
Well, I was never struggling with gratitude and appreciation, but what it did do is, well, it's not like I even got cocky, because the person that sent this to me, and then I was speaking to another person that I had lots of conversations with, and he's took ketamine a lot of times. And he said that in this packet, I will have 125 grams, because 125 grams is what you need for a K-hole experience. And so you should take all of that. Well, I thought, I ain't taking all of nothing off the bat. I'm just going to see how it feels. That's why I like to do things. And so then I went into the churchyard and I sat on a chair, put the camera up, and then I did it, and then that was it. Oh my God. Yeah, wild.
So before you were asking me the question, like what gave me that bit of PTSD, or like why am I going to the clinic for? And you know, a
Yeah.
little bits like a little bits the family. The other part is was the substance drug thing that happened on 3 times. I think you said maybe we'll talk about that on a different time
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And then the other one, probably 2 more things. Like sometimes I had got rejected by like women that I wanted, like so many times, man. And I was in top performance. I was very fit, like dressed up well, smell good. And then I'd see these women with like guys with tattoos or like rat's tail, and I go, what sort of messed up, sick world are we currently living in? Is there
Yeah.
something wrong with me? And I know there's nothing wrong, man. I know most people around us are NPCs and they're indoctrinated like robots, and what culture tells them is what they like and what they worship. But the other thing, man, was Aaron, before I mention it, is I ended up going pretty much crazy, man, in my workplace. I ended up quitting work, and it was about December 2024. I quit, and I've like retired pretty much since, man, because I was going crazy. And when I spoke to my therapist, he was like, "What's the issue? What went wrong?" I said, "Dude, I was in the workplace every day for the last 13 years, every day looking around me like, has anyone awakened? Like, is anyone actually alive and can see what I'm seeing?" And I could clearly see, man, these people are just robotic, like must do this action, must go to here. And I would look at these people, these young people, and be like, "Hey guys, what sort of music do you like? Let's have some fun at work. Let's enjoy it." And they're somewhere else, man.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And so I've spoken to quite a lot of people who have had episodes, and my channel seems to attract those sort of people that have had pretty severe psychotic episodes. They've been sectioned. They've had to spend time in institutions, and those sort of people, of course, they pick up on a great deal more than the average Joe. And so it's kind of like, I've been very fortunate that I've never had a mind like that. I've never gone off the shelf. I've never needed psych meds, and I've never needed anything like that. Other than initially, when I was in my dark night of the soul, I would just have bouts of just crying all the time. Every movie I watched, I'd just be crying. And every night I went to bed and I'd watch a movie, because I'd be reading 10 hours, 12 hours a day, every single day. And then I'd watch some movies I'd bought from the car boot sale for 50 pence each. And I just put a movie on and, just tried to give my mind some respite, and everything just made me cry. The level of humanism that I was experiencing, I was really emotional. So I went to see the doctor about this, and he asked me if I wanted medication, and I said no, I don't want psychotropics. I'll deal with it myself. but I would like therapy. And so he started tentatively to arrange therapy. So I got sent, the information to one organization. They said they listening to me, I need something else. Then they sent me to another department, and they said, no, we can't help you. And then eventually I got to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist is kind of like, you're a very unusual case. And he can't help me either. So all he does is writes down what I want him to write down. And if that helps me in some shape or form, which it does, then that's all he can do. The thing is, when we enter into these realms, and I've had supernatural experiences. Now, this psychiatrist that I go and see from time to time, he's a Christian, and I'm like, well, he's a believer. He believes. And I'm kind of like, well, he's a PhD in psychiatry. So he's obviously embroiled in the scientific realm. And yet, he's got his cohort, he's got his bed partner, which is just given to complete belief and fantasy. How does one marry up those states of mind?
Yeah, it's going to be very limited with those sort of people, man. Like, it's just not possible, I remember on like a lot of your YouTube channels, like some of the videos you had made in the past, you were trying to make videos talking about, oh, what's the difference between belief? What's the difference between faith? And you were trying to answer it yourself or get people to answer it, man. And as I became a bit older as well, because I grew up from a family hold, I'm half Italian, half Iranian, grown up in Australia. So my mum's side's Christian, my dad's side is Muslim, but they don't practice none of that, man.
Right.
But basically, when I had watched these videos from Osho and all that sort of stuff, he was saying, man, the word belief is very dirty. It's like a doctor putting a Band-Aid on you and saying your like cancer's gone, man. It's not. There's a difference between believing and knowing the
Yeah.
truth. That's why when you say belief, it's like you don't truly know. You truly don't know nothing. So I don't like using that word belief in my life. Either I know something or you don't know it.
Yes, exactly. So I've wrote a book, right?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah, yeah.
You heard about it. Have you seen the front cover underneath my videos? I've hold it up, or
I'm sure I've seen it, man, in the last like 2-3 years, like you showing it up, but I haven't read it, to be honest,
no.
man.
So in that book, I talk about all of these major experiences I've had over a 14-year spectrum, and they are pretty short and succinct segments within 650 pages. In actual fact, some prints it's 700 pages. I'll just get one version.
Yeah, sure, man.
Now, I'm not attempting to be a salesperson here. I'm just showing you what I've got. They're the same book,
Yep, I see
two,
it.
two different titles. This one's 700 pages long. This one's 650, depending on what company prints. And so these books are available on Amazon, on Lulu, on Ingram Spark, and they retailing at £25. Now, I've sold close on 200 to my viewers, which is is pretty good going. But I don't bother promoting the book anywhere else because I didn't write it for that. I wrote the book as a spiritual autobiography, something that just needed to come out, and so once. You see, for those people that are compelled to write books, they will say that they get woke up night after night after night because something has to be done. And people will have to get out of bed and they'll just have to start writing at all different hours because that's how it is. And so I wrote this book over a full 8 months, every single day, a minimum of 5 hours, because it was downloading. I was just downloading. And once I downloaded that, I was free. you know. And that's one of the things that constitutes my empty disposition, because I no longer carry the weight of all that stuff. I've put it outside of me. There it is. I don't have to carry the weight of it. I'm not burdened by it anymore. It's in the world, you know. It's very
Sounds like it was
cathartic.
a big relief to get off your shoulders, man.
Yeah, so all these things I'm speaking about, all of the outer body experiences, all of the encounters with the supernatural, all of my major entheogenic experiences, all that different sorts of stuff, and a whole bunch more is in these books. And you just open each page like that, and then you flick, and you've got other headings. You see, you've got these headings, and then that one is like lycanthropy, when the spirit of the wolf entered my body. Lycanthropy is an actual thing. It's when you are possessed by a wolf, and it stems from ancient, times, in medieval times, and this, that, and the other. Well, I took Amanita muscaria, and then a wolf partook in my body. And I felt like a wolf. I howled like a wolf. I ran around on all fours like a wolf. And then a primal man entered my body, and then a Viking. And I was acting out all these things in these woods, and my mate was filming at the time. And I'm like, I actually feel, I can actually see through these eyes, of these energies. It's very, very bizarre. So I've had so many wonderful experiences that people will probably never ever get their heads around. They've got to have something like this. They've got to have something really deep and profound and supernatural. The first time I left my body, when I was doing my outer body, I practiced for 150 hours. And I knew exactly how many hours, because I made a log. I'm a very methodical person. And so I make a log of every single hour I practiced to get out of the body. And it happened on the 150th hour. Well, from that point forward, I stated to myself that I would never, ever doubt a single thing about anyone's experience in the supernatural, because it fucking exists.
100%, man. And the thought that's coming in my head is, if you were to ask maybe some of the shamans what this sort of experience is that you're having, or like what type of spirit is it, you know what they might answer you with? They might tell you, Aaron, this is like your ancestors, or some other spirit. I don't know as far as the wolf, I know that's an animal, but as far as other experience of the Viking and all that, it could be like your ancestors visiting you and going into you for a moment and giving you the downloads,
Yes, most certainly, because on that day, those three things happened: the wolf, the Viking, and the primal man. Now, obviously, all those things pertain to my ancestry. My ancestors have been around the Northern Hemisphere for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, and there's going to be Viking in my blood. And so when we enter into certain states of consciousness, we open up doors for spirits and other information to enter and to participate. And so when I write in my book about these experiences, Amanita muscaria, I'm like, look, this beautiful, incredible red and white mushroom, which grows so seldomly, so rarely, so secretively in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a magical mushroom, and it's the mushroom that's depicted on the vast majority of children's books, with elves and fairies sitting on them. Well, why is that? Because it's a magical mushroom. And then when you take the mushroom, you vomit violently. Well, I do in any case, every single time. And then after about an hour and a half, then a fantastic, incredible warm glow comes over me, and I'm filled with energy. And that's why you know that the Vikings used to take this potion before they got in their longboats on their way to Great Britain, because it gave them this they call it berserking. They give them the berserking energy, and then they wouldn't feel the cold, and they wouldn't feel no fear, and they'd be full of testosterone and power, and then they'd be conquering and doing everything. I felt that. I lived it. I know the minds of Vikings, and then the primal man. I saw a vision of Christopher Columbus's boats arriving on the shore, and just all that sort of stuff. And it's kind of like, where do we go? What actually happens?
Yeah, or like, what was it trying to show you, and what was the whole point of it all? But
Yeah.
nonetheless, man, it's much more exciting than watching a movie. It's much more exciting than playing PlayStation. It's much more exciting than traveling to different countries or Bali and here and there. It's very, very interesting, man. Hey, Aaron, can you give me 30 seconds, man? I just got to chuck a quick pee.
Yeah, I'll do the same, mate.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
That are watching this Aaron Berry's YouTube channel, hit the like button right now if you've been enjoying this video, and share some comments. We would love to hear it.
Oh, goodness me. If I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Doesn't make any difference, Michael. And
Aaron,
it's a phenomenon as to why it doesn't make any difference. It's a phenomenon as to why people can't do that. It really is incredible. I can't get my head around it, for a moment, although, I can go wildly speculating, but it's the most simplest thing. It's a respectful thing. And if you like the videos, even if you like one line in it and the one line served you, the whole video just doesn't have to make you come. People, if you like one fucking line in it, then that's enough to put your finger on the fucking computer and stop being a tight-ass, begrudging, jealous, envious bastard. That's all I can say. I can only say that.
The haters are going to hate, Aaron, and I know you don't have social media and Facebook. I've still got it, man, and I'm someone that if I've got love filled in my heart, anything that I see interesting or I can learn from someone, I always hit the like button. I always tell people, thank you so much for your information, but the majority of the muggles and muppets, man, they can't do it. I think these people are filled with hatred, or they're confused in their own world or something like that, man.
Yeah, they don't ever stop to consider anybody else. Because they've just got their myopic little mindset, their own tiny little world, and they don't ever consider anybody or anything. And I think that's mostly where it is. And they've got the memories in minds like goldfish. They need constant entertaining, and they're not the sort of person just to premeditate someone's anniversary or birthday with any real joy and conviction. They're probably like, oh, it's our anniversary. Oh, it's someone's birthday. They're in the program of feeling obliged to do it. But does anybody really think about anyone these days? I don't remember the last time anyone put down a comment saying, I really thank you for what you do here, Aaron. Your videos mean so much to me. I don't comment that often, but because I find the information a bit bewildering, but I love what you do. And even if people did that, you can't just do it once. At least do it once a month. But people think they can absolve themselves. Well, I told Aaron I loved his videos 7 years ago. And so I'm supposed to remember, and that's supposed to be prominent, in the way I deal with the people, No, we need more. It's like when people supposedly love each other, they tell them every day, don't they? Because we've got short memories and we're insecure.
Yeah. Sometimes I go through that frustration, man, and you just got to breathe it and let it go. And what's one of the funny things that came to my mind was not that young kid you had on the video before, but the other guy. He was talking about your videos, and he was like, hey, Aaron, your videos are good, but I'm just finding lately you are very negative. You're very negative. And I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. Can't you see part of Aaron is trying to trigger people, is to get you to question and bring up certain things, and they can't see outside of the box, man.
No, they just want all fluffy. They just want all roses. They want telling that they're beautiful and all this sort of stuff. And so basically, what do they want? They don't want anything that they already have. they've already got this fantasy that they're beautiful and they're perfect and everything like that. And so what do they want? Me to tell them, oh, you're all perfect and, you're all one and you're the same as me and I'm no more clever than you. I'm no more experienced than you. That's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear, I'm vastly more well-read than you. I'm vastly more experienced than you. You don't know what the fuck I'm fucking talking about. They don't want to hear that. No. And so they'll very, very quickly skip on because it's so abrasive to their egos.
It is. Going back to what you were saying before, while it's on my mind, man, how you're talking about the Viking and all that, I reckon you should do something. I don't know if you have it where you are, but we call it DNA ancestry test in Australia, and they can sort of get your saliva and they can test where you're from.
I've always wanted to do that. I've always been of a mind to do it. And it's kind of like, oh, you go on to online and you fill in all your details. And I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. I know I'm a Viking. I know that, there's the blood of William the Conqueror in me somewhere, because all this shit went down, thousands of years ago. Well, let's just say when the Vikings came over, like about 1,200 years ago or something, William the Conqueror 1,000 years ago. And so we was only a very small population at that time, relatively. And now we've got Viking blood, we've got the Normans' blood, we've got blood from all other countries around the world. All it would take for one person to come from Timbuktu and to plant their seed, and then how prolific that would be seeded. It is said that lots of the presidents like Bush and Obama, they have their ancestry which they can follow back to the pharaohs.
To the pharaohs? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so, I wouldn't even speculate about the truth. It's probably mostly propaganda. But there are such things as bloodlines. There are such things as keeping it all in the family. And what I've noticed when doing my research about the leaders in Britain, they all go to this very, very particular university. It's called Eton. It costs hundreds of thousands a year, and they've been born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They're born from Rothschild blood and the rest of it. They're filtered through this system, and then they're cultivated to become leaders. And then when Britain is looking for a leader, looking for someone to be elected, well, they're the ones that are coming forward. Nobody else is coming forward, Invariably, there's never a working class man that comes from the gutter, has worked his way up. No, there's always these cunts with plums in the mouth. It's kind of like it's sort of facade, isn't it? And so probably they do have pharaonic blood in them,
It wouldn't be a surprise, man.
Yeah.
Aaron, one of the things that came to my mind at the moment was, the last times I probably had like empathy for people or trying to help out society might have been around like that 2020, man, when we had COVID and everything. I was like going to my friends, family, like, please don't take the jab, like, wake up, it's all fake, can't you see what's going on? And after that, I pretty much hit the message in my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm done with the sheep, man. It's like time to wake up and speak to the lions. And I was meaning to speak to you even back then, but it sort of just got caught up in things and work, and it just one thing led to another. But I'm grateful it happened now,
Yes.
Did you find there was a certain point in your life or age, or was it maybe around COVID time for you as well, that you just completely gave up with society and people on a certain level? Or
it was most certainly a turning point, and many people have said this. They said COVID really opened my eyes. We really saw what the divide in intellect was. We saw what the power structure is capable of. We saw how gullible and how subservient and how backboneless, just about every single person on the planet was. I never was locked down, and I never wore a mask. And what I did is, because of my vision, as soon as this COVID thing started to come around, people getting a lot of coughs and, recommended that people wear masks and things, I phoned up my doctor. And I had a phone appointment. It wasn't necessary to go in. And so I had a phone appointment, and I told my doctor that many years ago, when I was a child, I was locked in a wardrobe by my elder brother. And that brought around a variety of trauma because I was suffocating in the wardrobe, and I felt as if I was nearly going to die, and I did actually pass out. And so since then I've been traumatized, and so I could never wear a mask. And so I got the mask exemption on my record even before it fucking came out, because I knew what was happening. But you know what happened? That story wasn't true. That story was true, but it's true for my brother, because I locked him in the wardrobe, and he was the one that fucking passed out and was nearly asphyxiated because we was playing fucking games when we were kids, and he went to hide in the wardrobe, and I just locked the key. And then I went to lie in my bed, and I thought I'll leave him in there for a while because he's being a twat. I fell asleep. And so it wasn't until the old man and the old woman came back a couple of hours later and, asked where he was. And I said, oh, fuck, he's in the wardrobe. So I used the scenario from somebody else's life to give me the exemption. And so then, I just walked around with impunity, and I got into the United States of America completely unvaccinated, when the whole of the American system with the CDC and the American immigration, they were saying there's no way you're ever going to get into the United States unless you've got your proof of vaccination. You need at least 2 vaccinations and possibly a booster. I had nothing, and I got in straight away.
I think I remember the videos of you actually talking about that at the time, man, that you weren't wearing the mask and you got away with it. So salute to you, sir.
Yeah, and
You
it
figured
took
out a way around the
it
system.
took me about 3 or 4 months gathering up all the paperwork, all the documentation, doing all the research, trying to work out what is actually going on and could anyone get into the United States. And what I'd worked out was that they were sending us around in the cognitive, never-ending circuit of deception. You couldn't actually find anywhere anything about having sovereign rights, and no one can force you to take stuff in your body if you didn't want it, and no one can force you to close your airway away, because there's lots of experiments to be done and studies that have said that's very bad for you. But breathing in carbon dioxide, you reduce the amount of oxygen to your brain, you cause a terror in your brain because your brain thinks it's starving, and you get anxiety, and then you don't start to function properly. Goodness me, it all goes fucking pear-shaped from there on. But someone at the very, very top, who this person is, who this hidden hand is, they knew that they couldn't impose that. They would threaten. They'd threaten everybody, and they'd tell everybody, and they'd write circuitous stuff on the CDC channel on American immigration, and you'd think that it's absolutely impenetrable. But if you didn't believe it, if you just showed up at the airport without vaccination, no questions asked. How bizarre is that? How fucking bizarre is that?
That's so bizarre, man.
It's all smoke and mirrors, mate. It was all a pretense. They knew they couldn't stop you because it's your sovereign right. There you go.
Yep. That COVID time, man, I actually lost one of my jobs at the time, but luckily for me, I still had the mortgage with house and all that sort of stuff, but I ended up having to quit from the mines at the time. And then I had a friend that was in construction, so I was able to get a job as a bricklayer. And I done that for a few months until they opened up the doors, and then I was able to return back to the mines. But I said, no matter what it is, man, I don't care. I'll never take that jibby jab. And one of the funny things that happened was, in that free time that I had, I used to take heaps of mushrooms and stuff like that, man. I used to go cycling along the coast of the beach, all the way from Joondalup, all the way down to Scarborough, Fremantle, which is maybe 30, 40 minutes on the bike. And I'll tell you something, man. in that time when everybody was wearing masks and walking along the beach, there was one other guy that was on the bicycle and he wasn't wearing the mask. I wasn't wearing it. And we looked at each other in the eye and it was like a nod. And it's like,
Yeah.
you understand, I understand. It's like, yes, you're one of the awakened ones. Good on you, brother.
Yeah, and that was the telltale point. That was the divide, and we saw how few of us they were.
Yep.
Incidentally, I spent about a month on Scarborough Beach. I was staying in the hotel Central Point or something like that.
I think it's Central Point or Rendezvous Hotel Observation or something like that.
Observation Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
something. Yeah, swimming pool on top.
Yeah, man. I had my high school graduation in there, so we're probably at the same place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
what a beautiful coastline. But I loved Australia. Absolutely beautiful, man.
It's beautiful, man, but it has changed. What part of England are you in at the moment?
I'm in central England, a city called Leicester, which is in the Midlands. 100
How
miles
far
exactly north from London.
north of, how far away to London is it?
100 miles.
100 miles. Okay.
So the
Man.
Romans built what we call the M1, which basically motorway 1. It was the first motorway. It was from London to what was called Leicester, which was a Roman name. And so it's exactly 100 miles and it's as straight as an arrow. The Romans love their straight roads.
Man, I love to visit there one day, for sure.
Well,
For sure.
yeah, it's well, you know the history, but visit the Tower of London and Buckingham Palace and Stonehenge and William the Conqueror's castles and all different sorts of shit like that and cathedrals. It's amazing from that standpoint because we've got an enormous amount of history.
When my dad is about, I think, 65 years old, and when he was about 15, 16 years old, he had left his country in Iran, and he spent some time a little bit in London. Until this day, he goes, man, those were the best moments of my life. It was so beautiful, so fun, so many cool clubs at the time, and
Yeah.
sounded like a real cool time, man, back then.
Yeah, well, that probably would have been like in the 60s or something like that.
Yeah, I'm guessing around there. Yeah. Well, if he's 65 now, so how would I? He must have been born around maybe 1959. So
Right, yeah, so probably been like late 70s, early 80s then maybe even.
probably around there.
Okay, so he'd missed the
Good.
heyday. He missed the 60s, man. The 60s were the time, Beatlemania and all these up and coming rock and roll bands and the Vietnam War and whoa.
Good times, man. Good times.
Yeah.
Aaron, there's a few topics that we can talk about that you and me can relate to, man.
Yeah.
We share some of the countries and areas that we've been. So you've shared some of Australia. We both have hypervigilance. We both relate in the way that you can't do a job, I can't do a job. You awakened at some point, I awakened at some point. You've seen a therapist, I've seen a therapist. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was, you see, I haven't even gone properly to university, but I can already create in my mind a different framework or structure in our society of how it should be, of which has completely failed in this modern day time. I think these modern psychologists and psychiatrists aren't equipped for people like you and me because, first of all, they might make their judgments. And second of all, everything is like time based, like 1 hour session, 1 hour session, one
Yep.
hour session. See, in my mind, if we wanted to help people and society and all that, we need to create some sort of environment, space, or room where we let somebody come in. Maybe we give them MDMA, maybe we don't, maybe we just listen to them, but we listen to them for as long as they want, whether that takes 3 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, so they can get everything off their chest with no judgment, so you can truly understand someone. The problem is, I think, as well, with what we have, not everybody's probably, people are just going into this because that's my job and that's what I get paid to do. They're not truly going into it because they want to help someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and even if they think they do want to help someone, they aren't in a position to help anyone because they haven't helped themselves. They haven't rose up through the ranks of their own recovery. Now, if you have someone that has had a very, very hard life, and then they enter into the profession of psychology and psychiatry and things like that, then you've got the background. Now, this is why there's an enormous amount, proportionately, of Jews who go into the humanities. They go into sociology and the psychology and mostly psychology, psychoanalysis, because they felt it really, really necessary to work out the mind of man, in view of what happened to them. And so their vow is never again are they going to allow anything like that to happen to them. And so therefore they really do need to know the minds of men. And so then they have become masters of that, and all the rest of the peripheral stuff that the propaganda, the manipulation, the control, and all that. Yeah, they're masters of it. They become masters of it. And so when I was engaged in therapy, I said that I wanted a Jungian therapist, which there are some around, but they're very, very rare, because you need to be very broad in what you study. You need to be very knowledgeable, because obviously Jung is very, very complex. You need to be involved in alchemy and mysticism and religions and the paranormal and all this different sorts of stuff. And the reason why I wanted a Jungian psychologist, because I wanted to speak to somebody about the things that have happened to me, the experiences. But when I got to my therapist, the therapist, they told us, unfortunately, we don't have one of those therapists, but we've got someone that can do eye movement desensitization readjustment, and that basically is a bit like hypnotism. They do this with a pen for 20 times, and then it's supposed to clear your mind, and you just talk about the first thing that comes into your mind, and hopefully it takes away the ego, it sedates you a little bit, and you're a little bit under hypnosis, that sort of thing. And so, okay, there's a little bit of that, and it's for trauma seeking. And, I engaged in 14 hours with this therapist, and we did a bit of that. And I said to the therapist, I said, look, I've been where you're trying to take me 1,000 times since I was 4 years old. I've been over and over and over the death of my mother and revisiting it and asking all the whys and the hows and this, that, and the other. Do you think that you're going to take me anywhere that I haven't been? And well, it's kind of like, well, this is all I've got to offer. Do you want it or not? I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. Anyway, it never took me anywhere that I haven't been, hundreds of times before, except on one occasion where I had a flashback to a time when I was locked in a bare room. With no floorboards, no carpet on the floorboards, and no toys, and no bathroom, and no drink, and nothing like that. Anyway, that's by and by. But in relation to these therapists, no, they aren't trained in the level of trauma and psychological destabilization that they need to be able to have an insight into that. And so they come out of university with a newfangled way of doing something, and then they get their position on the premise of whatever's vogue at the time, but it isn't worth anything. It's worth nothing at all. And so what I wanted to convey to my therapist was that, look, I've had all these things happen, supernatural things, paranormal things. So now my mind is in a very, very different realm to the vast majority of humanity. And she used to tell me that I'm constantly wasting time storytelling. And I'm like, wow, you are a psychologist and you're telling me, the patient, that I'm wasting our time in a session by telling you the most powerful stories that have had all different sorts of emotional effects upon me. I'm like, let's get this clear. Is that what you
can be very...
Carry on.
And just hearing that because I do remember watching those therapist videos. You had that female therapist at
Right.
the time.
Okay.
And obviously, me as the viewer, it doesn't take much to put two and two together and see that for even a therapist to tell you that, that can be traumatizing or damaging, because you are being open to talking to someone about your problems, and to have something said like that makes you feel put down, or like you don't want to share information with these people because they're not
Yeah,
listening to you properly.
it's like it's worthless and it's stupid. And you know the worst thing about it, which showed how shocking, immature, and naive and unprofessional she was, she ended our consultation. We were scheduled to do 3.5 hours more. I'd done 14 hours with her. We had about 17 hours on the schedule. And she ended the session and she asked me to leave because she didn't consider that there was going to be any benefit from the sessions. And I said, so you are considering that there's no benefit from your perspective, because I'm willing to continue speaking to you because I think there's possibly some benefit if only you have the ears to listen, which you haven't done so far. And she just got angry. She stood up and with a stupid little immature look on her face, which was saying, there's the door. And there was never a letter of apology. There was never a letter from the institution saying, unfortunately, Mr. Berry, it didn't work out between you, blah, 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 blah. I actually filed a complaint and I said, I want to complain about the unprofessional nature of this woman. And then I got rebutted. I was told that this woman is trying to help people and you're not being helpful by putting the complaint in against her. And I'm like, right. So you don't actually have a complaints department. That's interesting. I said, I want this on record, by the way. I want it all on record. And I wrote out, a couple of sheets of A4 and my complaints and everything on what I reckoned. And then when I went to see the psychiatrist after, I told him what had happened. But of course, he never said anything. But he had to consult with her as a background because he needed to do a psychoanalytical assessment of me. And they're completely a waste of time. They really are, because they don't have the intellect, they don't have the patience, they have the wrong attitude because they think they're all haughty and they know what's going on and you don't know anything. I said to her, I said, look, you've only got one PhD. Bear in mind, you've only got one PhD. I've got about a dozen. Right? She hated that one. Absolutely hated that one. I said, I've traveled around the world, over 45 countries. I'm over twice your age. I've had hundreds of thousands of experiences which you could only fantasize about and watch movies about. And you're telling me that I'm wasting time here by storytelling.
Yeah, it's definitely when I remember listening and watching all those sort of videos, and from watching it, I could clearly see, first of all, it's very unprofessional with how she behaved and everything like that. Secondly, you can see what the clinic had done was they just tried to look after their workers.
Yep.
That's what they were trying to do,
Yeah, because the last thing they wanted was a remotely a bad reputation for any of their clinicians, because it just wouldn't do. It just wouldn't look good on their system. And I thought to myself, well, I could really dig in on this and I could pursue this because when she asked me to leave, I never heard from her again. And I gave her time. I think it's 4 weeks. I give her a whole month to see if, she'll get round to sending me a letter, so it didn't work out. And, I've made a note and hopefully you're going to place you with somebody else. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So then I phoned up that institution and I said, is so-and-so still there? Oh, yeah, she's here. How long has she been back from leave? Oh, well, I can't say that. That's personal. And I said, well, listen, if it's over 2 weeks, I reckon she's had ample time to write to the client who she rudely and abruptly and inconsiderately asked to leave. I'm the client. I'm coming for psychological help. And because she wasn't satisfied with whatever estimation that she had of how things were going, because she couldn't do a stupid fucking shit on me because I told her it ain't worth a wank, then she threw me out. I'm like, wow, When a psychologist throws you out, that's something, isn't it? I said to her
It's
right at the
definitely.
very end, I don't know whether you listened to the end. I said, do you know what? I said many psychologists are in psychology because they had a lot of issues when they was a child. And I said to her, so it seems to me that you have probably an equal amount of work to do on yourself than I do. She says, goodbye, Mr. Berry.
You got her there, Aaron. Basically, what you done with her, man, is you exploded her brain and you broke it to pieces, man.
Yeah, every single time. Every single time. Every single time I went in and had the consultation with her, I showed her how little she really knew. She thought she knew about all different sorts of stuff. She thought she knew about the world. She thought she knew about human psychology and the mind and everything. I showed her that she ain't even on the first run of the fucking ladder.
That's right. And I could understand, for example, if she wanted to terminate your meeting with her, if you were abusive, if you were aggressive or anger. But from what I could see, you always held your composure very well, and you made just little slight comments here and there for her to question herself, and she couldn't handle it. But here's the thing, Aaron. Basically, you went to the second therapist, and possibly you were waiting on a letter from her and all that sort of stuff. But you got to think in your mind what she was thinking at the time and what's going on in her reality. Most likely, man, in her reality, she's sitting there inside of her office or sitting down at home and she goes, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this crazy person. This is a crazy, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'll pass it to another therapist. That's number one. Number two is she's probably had to see another 5, 10 different people that she's seen for therapists. So by the time she's dealing with those people every day, she's most likely forgotten all the things that you've talked about, man. You know.
Yeah.
So you can see you can see what's going on. You know?
Yeah. And so if they're dealing with, say, like, 4 or 5 patients a day, and I was scheduled to see her once every 2 weeks, and then look at the multitude of crazies that she's had before her, filling up her head of things she really doesn't want to think about, to be honest.
Well, for sure, Aaron, you blew her head to pieces, man. Two things that I thought about while you were talking about this whole thing. All right.
Just before you
Was
do that, Michael, because you've got notes, and so you've got your notes there to refer back to. I want to address something that you said in relation to the therapy and this, that, and the other, and how they don't understand people like you and I. Now, when I was consulting with the therapist and the psychiatrist, I made it absolutely plain and explicit that I want to offer the facility of someone in the institution organization to make notes about my request and to speak with me, because I've noticed on the National Health website, our medical fraternity is called the National Health, and they say that we are tentatively starting to understand the serious nature of a spiritual awakening. Right? They've got about 10 lines on that. And so I'm like, well, fucking hell, even to put 10 lines down, at least someone somewhere is thinking about it. So I'm like, fucking hell, okay, brilliant. So I said to my psychiatrist and the psychologist, listen, I've had a spiritual awakening. I've been traveling that journey for 17 years. I've wrote a book about it. I've got an enormous amount of information to say and to help you with, because when you get presented with people like me, you don't know what to do with us. And so I want to help you. Is there anyone? Is the board? Is there some sort of like mini institution within the institution that is working tentatively with people like this and gathering information? And they said, oh, we'll look into it. Nobody ever got back to me. And then I pressed them and they said, no, we couldn't find anything like that. Then, because I'm on a variety of benefits, from time to time I get a government agency calling me up to see if they can assist me with anything. And I said, yes, you can assist me with something. I want to speak with someone about the spiritual awakening. The what? The what? The spiritual awakening. Oh, okay. Would you want to give me a bit more details? Yes. When we have a spiritual awakening, it throws us into a pretty well psychological turmoil, which can last many, many years. Okay, okay. Look, this person on the end of the phone was just a telephonist, just gathering information. And so I said, well, look, I don't know who you're going to be placing this with, but if at all possible, I want it placed with someone that has got some level of comprehension of the spiritual upheaval which we have when we have an awakening experience. And so they said, yeah, fine. Someone will get back to you. That was 5 months ago. Nobody's got back to me.
Yeah,
And
so
so they
basically,
don't have a facility at all about this.
yeah, so basically, what it sounds like from what you're talking about is everything is a facade. They create websites. They tell the people we're in progress for creating this for people. Nothing's really going on there. Nothing's
Nothing's
happening.
going on.
Yeah,
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 exactly. And then when you go to consult with these people, like you say, they've got an hour here, maybe they'll extend it to 2 hours. They've got an objective, they've got criteria, they've got to write some shit down to prove to their bosses that they have done their job. And so all they're looking for is to tick boxes which are already written in their manuals. And so they've got to put something down about that. They've got to be proven to do something which has been marginally helpful, but anything else you speak outside of that, they ain't got the clue, they ain't got the time, they ain't got the money, they ain't got the patience.
yep. Very, very true, Aaron. Very true. There was two thoughts that I had out of this conversation when you said you were talking to the therapist of maybe two techniques that these therapists use, but didn't really work on people like us. So let me see. I've written it down. I want to take you where you haven't been. Oh yeah, before you were saying something along the lines of they won't take you to where you haven't been. And then the thought that came up in my head is maybe sometimes what they're there for is just to hear you and let you vent out. And when you vent out, you get things off your chest and your mind. That's number one. And then the second thing is maybe what they're doing is they're trying to question things in your mind so you come to a certain level of acceptance of a thought you have so you can close it off.
Well,
Maybe
yes,
that's some of the techniques they have.
a proper therapist, yes, or let's just say a therapist in a particular realm. This therapist that I went to see, she only had one training, and that was in eye movement desensitization reconstruction, and that was about alleviating buried trauma. So when I said to her, she said, "What do you want me to do, Aaron?" And I said, "I want you to use all of your training." She says, "I am using all of my training." And I went, "Okay."
Oh man. Well, I've got a bit of a quest for you, Aaron. I know you're not going to do it, but it's just a funny thought and all that sort of stuff. So what we need is we need someone like you to find the top psychologists and psychiatrists in the world. We need you to have conversations with Jordan Peterson, and even Jordan Peterson, you'll blow his mind to pieces because he has all his Christian beliefs and all that too, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love to have conversations with all these people, but you see, all these people, their time is very precious. Their time is very valuable because when they do a podcast, they are expecting at least 1 million views, and the revenue that they're going to be getting from one podcast would be in the thousands. And so that's what limits conversations with someone like me, because it isn't worth a single thing, because they're not in the business for the information, they're in the business for money. And so that's the thing. They pretend about, oh, yes, we want to discover this. And, and they'll talk about Jung this, and they'll talk about Freud that, and they'll talk about Schopenhauer this. But they're only mentioning those names because people are familiar with those names and they've sold books. But to speak with someone like me, to speak about a journey to the self. What's this journey to the self about, Awakened One? Well, goodness me, it looks of some thickness there. You've put some time and effort into it. Do you want to talk about? No, nobody's interested in talking about that because nobody knows anything about it. And so if people tune into a video, well, what the fucking hell? Who's that? Who's this non-entity? Who's this fucking idiot with a tooth missing? He's a fucking loser. And that's where it goes. And that's the narrow parameter of these people. They'll only ever consult with each other. And when you see Jordan Peterson floating around the fucking world, well, if he's not with Richard Dawkins, he's with Sam Harris. And he's not with Sam Harris, he's with fucking John Dillahunty or, all these sort of people. When's he with the average fucking Joe that's got something to say? Never.
He's not. And it seemed like there was a point of time many years back where Jordan Peterson was doing pretty good. He was like helping the youth, and then he sort of lost the plot and went downhill a little bit, man.
Yeah, he went into, he's I'm going to save the world thing, and it's going to be via getting everyone back into the Christian faith. I read his Maps of Meaning, and it was the most laborious and boring book I've ever read in my life, and that's saying something because I've read a few thousand. And in that book, he posted a letter. And the letter was to his dad. And in this letter, he states that, Dad, I think I'm really onto something. I think I've finally discovered why the world is evil. And if I can just find the remedy for the world is evil, then humanity's problems will be solved. Now, that's the Messiah complex. Peterson had the Messiah complex. And he's also stated, this was years ago, that when he dies, he's going to have a huge funeral. Now, that may be a premonition that's going to come true. And he may die in the not too distant future because he's very ill. He's been ill for a long time. But the last video I watched of him when he's sick, basically he's saying that, we've got to go back to Christ and Christ is the answer. And the church have to give a message to the young youth of the day. Come to our churches and be one with Christ. And I'm like, wow, where are you getting off on that shit? When you know yourself that the youth of today is absolutely, completely and utterly transfixed on Twitter, Facebook and fucking YouTube. And you want people to go into smelly, dull, boring, empty, fucking vacuous churches which ain't got shit going down, and that they're so fucking old. I went into a church this afternoon, mate, the church near me, and it's old, it's smelly, it's dusty, it's a relic from the past nobody fucking cares about. It's just dead. Nietzsche was right 150 years ago. God is dead.
I think we could summarize his answer and we could make it much easier and simpler. And maybe what we need people to have more awakening experiences, more connectedness, and to have Christ consciousness within their spirit and soul.
Exactly.
And to experience that as a collective consciousness. Like, you don't have to go to a mosque or to a church. You just have to be awake and have the realization of all this sort of stuff.
Well, even Jesus says the kingdom of God is within each and every one of you. And he says, you don't need no mosques. You don't need no churches. You don't need no altars. You go into your own altar. You go into your closet. You close the door. You sit down and you close your eyes. And that basically is meditation. That's where your altar is. That's where the kingdom of God is. And truly I say to you, the kingdom is within you and it's without you, and yet you do not see. And yet we've got these complete fucking idiot cunts, right, which are telling you that you'll find Christ in a church or from the pastor reading archaic dead desert dogma, which is in some instances 3,500 years ago, which was written by an ancient civilization that nobody's got any affinity with at all, and they're trying to fit that into the 21st century. It's sickening, it's pathetic, it's naive, and it's the height of unintelligence. And so I lose respect for these retards, as soon as they start to bang on about religion. When guys like you and I, we know where the deal is. You take some psilocybin, pricks, you take some DMT, and then you'll start to get the fucking answer of the universe. That's where it is, in your fucking church.
It is. And even if you don't want to take any of those things, at least practice meditation, man. Like,
Yeah.
that's a good start, for people that don't want to go out there. But what's one of the funny things that I noticed was, because I used to go to church a couple times and all that, and you'd see the usual people, and sometimes I'd think in my head, do any of these people question anything or have a higher consciousness, or do they just read the same book every single weekend and they think because I'm reading this text and I'm donating $10,
Yeah.
it makes me a superior person compared to the rest of you muggles?
And that's all they need to do to get into heaven. So job done. Once a month on a Sunday, you put a tenner in the coffers and you listen to some boring idiot talking bullshit. And it doesn't make any sense at all. And yet, that's the length and breadth of it. Well, look, I've been pretty scathing to the human being for some time now, and ever increasingly, and it's going to get a whole lot worse or better, whichever way you look at it. And one of the viewers the other day akins me to the demiurge god of Yaldabaoth, which was the false god, the demiurge of the Gnostics, who was a wrathful, jealous god and all that sort of thing. And I'm like, well, I'm certainly exhibiting the wrath. I'm not interested in the jealous aspect. There's nothing that anyone's going to make me jealous about. Who are you going to be jealous of when you're God? You see, the God in the Old Testament, he was the jealous God because he obviously knew that he wasn't the only God. Me, I know I'm the only God. And so who have I got to be jealous about? And it's not like I'm the only human with godliness. No, I know that the cosmos is God. And I'm within the cosmos. I'm consciousness within the cosmos, the same as anything else that's conscious. So that is God. I'm it. I'm self-realized. The vast majority of people don't even know the conscious. And so I'm not given that they're all the same and we're all the same. No. There's very, very stark differences between me and you, Muppets. There's a select few of us which have slipped into this tiny minuscule band of frequency where we can see it and we know it. That's the thing, we know it. And so all these idiots that proclaim that they've read a few books and a few scriptures, that they know nothing.
Very true, Aaron, very true. And it's been a difficult process sometimes, man, because sometimes I look around family or friends, and the older you get, sometimes it's like hard to relate to these people because you got to talk on such surface level stuff. Oh, how is your food? How is camping? How is your job? And personally, to me, it's like none of this stuff even matters, man. Like, I want to look at people and ask them, what conscious experiences have you had? What level are you at? Like, where's society in the future heading? Like, what part and role do we play in making any of this like work and function? All this sort of stuff, man.
Yes, and what do you feel when you gaze upon the clouds? What do you feel when you look upon a tree? What do you feel when you remember a dream? What do you feel when you just sit down and contemplate and concentrate on what your actual body is? What are you feeling? How do you feel your consciousness? What's going on there? Why do you say this? Why do you think that? Oh, goodness me, no. Why? Because there's a billion questions that they can't possibly even come close to answer. And very few people have got the constitution to even engage in a few of them. And so, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, I think it's perfect because people like you and I, we need chicken packers. And so if everyone was awakened, well, who'd pack the fucking chickens?
Very true, very true. And going back a little bit to your question, well, not so much maybe about the clouds, although when you do look at the clouds, sometimes you see such interesting shapes. Like, I'll look at the clouds and I'll see different sort of animals and everything. I go, is this just a cosmic joke, or does this really look like the shape of certain animals and items and things? And life is so interesting the way that it's been created, because imagine if God or creator created the clouds to be perfectly like square shaped or triangles everywhere. It'd just make it boring. So like,
yeah.
Or like, how you said to the viewers, like, do any of you people take the time every day and look around you and say, oh my gosh, I'm awake. I can feel the sun rays going on my hand. Oh my gosh, it's so nourishing and I feel it. The majority of people never have this inner dialogue in their head, man.
No, never. And just going back to when you speak about seeing shapes in the clouds. Now, this was a source of conversation I had, less than a week ago, and someone was saying that they can see all different sorts of shapes and stuff in the clouds, and I said, well, that's bizarre because I have only ever seen shapes in the clouds, beings in the clouds, and things like that. Anything that could even remotely be considered something. I was listening to Mickey Kaku, and he was saying that everyone sees like Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse or snakes in the clouds, and I'm like, what? I've never seen any of these cartoon characters. I've never seen anything that even looks remotely. I'm like, what's happening to my mind? Why don't I see that? I see faces in trees and in leaves and in the grass. I see these images in everything else. I can look at the brick wall, stone wall, and I can see a whole multitude of things. I have never seen anything like that in the clouds, except on one day when I saw like some sort of god streaked across the sky, and the sky was very elaborate. It was being wrenched and torn from every direction. And then when I'm on DMT, there are literally gods with robes and beards and everything in full technicolor. But other than that, I never even I look at the clouds every single day. And whenever I'm out in the churchyard, I'm always mesmerized by the clouds. I never go, oh, that looks like Mickey Mouse. Oh, that one over there, that looks like a dog. Oh, that looks like a kitten. Oh, that's funny. Never. And so I go, look, this is why we're very, very different. What is it that isn't going on in my mind that doesn't enable me to see that? And yet I can see so much more that other people can't see. And so therefore we can see that our consciousness is very, very different. And so if you said to me, like Mickey Kaku said, oh, everybody sees, or no, everybody doesn't. And so that's where we're getting to now. We're getting closer now that everybody doesn't see all this. Everybody doesn't feel the same. Everybody doesn't think the same. We're all very, very different. And the more we start talking about this stuff, and the more people say, hang on, did you say see Mickey Mouse in the clouds? Are you being metaphorical, or do you think there's some truth in that? And then, like you say, there's a dog, or there's, I don't ever say anything like that.
I mean, I guess we all see things a little bit differently, and maybe some things that you see in the leaves or the grass, maybe I pick it up different in other things, and maybe it's just about all collectively having these experiences and just cross sharing it with each other makes an interesting story.
I think what's happening here is this consciousness is experiencing itself, which is the cosmos, and so it's divided itself into gazillions and gazillions of specks of consciousness, which are like snowflakes. They're all different. And so the curious thing is, like the video I made yesterday, I said, look, this is a curious thing. This is how the cosmos is. This is how the cosmos appears to want it to be. And yet there's an energy, there's a force on this world which is hell-bent on standardizing everything, which completely goes against the grain of what the cosmos is creating. The cosmos hasn't standardized a single thing. The cosmos doesn't standardize a hair on our heads. No two hairs on the whole world forever and ever and ever have been identical.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Aaron? You're saying there's a force doing what?
There's a force which is being controlling and standardizing the human being. It wants to standardize the weather. It wants to standardize the world. It wants to learn all about the genetic the genetic center of everything so it can manipulate it. And it's working on things. It's standardized wheat, it's standardized bananas, it's standardized apples, it's standardized carrots, it's standardized a great deal of stuff, and it doesn't want to end. It wants everything to be the same because it's easy and it's very, very calculable. It's very easy to put your weights and measures against, because when you've got apples the same size and the same shape and the same volume, this, that, and the other, well, fuck me, when you're picking apples from a tree, you can sell this apple for the same price as all the other apples. Why? Because it's the same fucking size. and it's the same shape, but back in the day when you get an apple this big and an apple that big, and then they have all warts and different shapes on them, it's kind of like, who the fuck wants that shit? Now nobody wants that shit now. And so that's what they're doing. They're doing that to the human being. They want us all absolutely standardized. They want to standardize our state of consciousness. That's what all these schools have been about, the indoctrination camps, with, how they set up from, was it called the Austrian camp, where these varieties of schools first started to be a method where they get the students all rowed lined up facing the teacher, and he'd have a blackboard and he'd write stuff down and you'd copy it, and that's all you'd do.
Yeah, it's become like that, man. The standardizing and all that sort of stuff. I guess one of the people we all know about is going to be Bill Gates having some sort of control in this world and all that sort of stuff, man. I don't know why somebody hasn't taken that guy out yet so far.
I don't know why people haven't taken all of them out. Why didn't someone take Anthony Fauci out?
I can't figure it out, man. I can't figure it out. But any way that I guess you slice and dice it, Aaron, and you think to yourself, man, this world is so fucked up and it's dystopian and there's some force at bay that's making things like really bad. I know it seems bad at the time while we're going through it, and it is messed up and everything, but everything that's happening is breaking down everyone and everything. So when people have had enough and they're traumatized, either they're going to die, or they're going to get sick, or people are going to revolt and then have some level of awakening. And that's like the reason why you and me have a reason to live, is like, will the Muggles and Muppets wake up in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Will we be alive in our generation to look at the people around us and be like, yeah, we made it, we're alive, we got rid of these fools, Or will society just go dystopian the way that we think it's going to work,
Yeah, I don't think anyone will wake up in any significant numbers, because look, all we need to do is you look at the war in Ukraine, you look at the war in Gaza, you look at the war with Iran, you look at well, goodness me, the probably there's 100 wars around the world going on at this moment in time that we don't even get to hear about. And so with all the wars that we've had incessantly, with the war in Vietnam, went on forever and ever and ever, you would have thought the whole of America would be awoke. But no, they're fast asleep. So they're not waking up through that level of trauma. And so there's a certain variety of trauma that wakes us up. And I think it's a spiritually what's the word? A spiritually imbued, a spiritually designed. I think it's a destiny thing. I think those which are destined to wake up, then they'll have some trauma that we could say that is the catalyst for it. But I think that it was already genetically. I never had a day's loneliness. I never felt any boredom or anything like that. I was always destined to be alone, and I was always very, very introspective and observant and hyper vigilant. It was always destined. I was always going to wake up, more than I was then. And so, yeah, if we're thinking that the waking up is premised alone on trauma, then there should be a population in Ukraine at this moment in time who has been war torn for the last 3 or 4 years that would be all wide awake by now. They've all seen the light. Can't see it.
Maybe it's meant to be put in some people and not others. Maybe it goes through trauma and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's your own inner knowing. You have to have an inner dialogue from the very beginning to look at consciousness or creator and say, can you please show me the direction of my life or the right way or what I'm supposed to do? And you have to have that want within you to sort of have those experiences, perhaps. Or like you said, maybe just some of us were meant to have the experience, some of us not, man.
Yeah, well, look, when you look at great songwriters like Lennon and McCartney, they were just one in a billion. Then you look at Picasso and Rembrandt and, any of those artists, which are renowned for quality work. I'm not talking Van Gogh. Van Gogh never painted anything that a child couldn't paint, to be quite fucking painfully obvious. And it's absurd how his paintings are worth billions. It's not because of how brilliant they were. You look at the sunflower, you look at the chair, even they've got a picture of this chair, right? And the fourth leg isn't in the proper position. It's kind of like, how could anybody get that wrong? All you got to do is look at the fucking chair and you know where to put the legs. But no, he couldn't get that right. And so it's all bollocks. And so we've been filled with so much shit. But we only get a very few special people. And you've got the one Gandhi, you've got the one Martin Luther King. Goodness me, why can't I think of hundreds and hundreds of these people? No, I can't. I can just think of like the one here and there and the one there. And this is how it is. There's only been one Jesus and one Krishna, one Buddha, for fuck's sake. What, over 5,000 years?
Yeah, you only get the one Elon Musk, you get the Tesla, you get the one Einstein, you get the one Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
There's only a few of us around, man. There's like a handful, and then the rest of them are just NPC muggles to work, back home, to work, back home. Repeat this for 70, 80 years, and now you're dead.
Yeah. And so, this is just the curious thing about it. And no, I'm not an advocate of the world is waking up. I've got no confidence in that at all. I've got no reason to believe it's true. I'm just not seeing people waking up in the droves. In actual fact, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing that the vast majority of people are just so asleep, they're so controlled, they're so hypnotized, and it's getting worse and worse and worse until in the end, people like you and I are going to be so far and few between. It's going to be unbelievable. It really is.
That's why when you look at people that are sitting in a cave, you probably understand them.
Yeah. Well, it's like 99% of the world's in a cave. If you're speaking about the Platonic cave, they're all in that cave. If you're talking about the metaphor of gurus being in a cave, living insular lives, well, yeah, that's a very different variety of cave. We have come out of the cave, but we've retreated back into our own cave. We're no longer in the cave with the herds and the Muppets and the Vipers and all that. No, we're in our own cave, our own insulation.
What I was thinking that person that you see in the cave, that awakened one, the enlightened one, the one that has that realization, he has no need anymore to go in the city and deal with the people, because he sees it's all plays, it's all a stage, it's all stupid, it's all wasting time. So you may as well just meditate, retreat, and be relaxed somewhere where you're at peace, maybe more in silence if it's your preference.
Yeah, there's nothing to gain from mixing with the masses. It's just a complete and utter shitfest. And sometimes I think about, buying a spy cam and just going into the city, just walking around and they're getting a microphone and they're just narrating my journey. And I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't have anything positive to say about anything. And so, well, people say to me, oh, there's already enough negativity in the world. Why don't you spread a bit of positivity? And I'm like, I can't see it. I can't see any positivity out there. And if I do start to spread what I consider to be positive, you don't know what I'm fucking talking about. And so that's the thing. My videos, they've got so much positivity. They're brimming with pointing in the direction of where people can save their souls and they can become awakened and enlightened and this, that, and the other. No one's interested. And, the videos, they get hardly any views and no one's got anything to say about them. They are completely bewildered. It just doesn't touch them. And so, well, that's the thing. And so I've given up now expecting anything else, Michael, at the end of the day.
I admire you trying to help these people, man. But in your situation, you're basically just talking to a brick wall, mate.
Yeah, talking to a brick wall. And I wouldn't even... I wouldn't accept that I am actually trying to help anyone. I'm doing a job which I've been given to do, and I don't think I have any say in it. And so I've been sent on a journey by the cosmos, and I've been given whatever attribute it is all the time in the world, the relevant knowledge to be able to put up my videos, the money to be able to buy the cameras, everything to make this I've been given. And so I go, okay, because why? Because I know the cosmos has blessed me. It's absolutely blessed me. I'm the blessed individual, and my consciousness is blessed, my body's blessed, my environment's blessed, everything is blessed. And so therefore all I'm doing is I'm working with the cosmos to do what it wants me to do. And there's a part of it that wants me just to keep talking, and so I do. But if you was to say to me, oh, do you get any pleasure from helping people, I'm kind of like, I'm indifferent. I don't have any power whether anyone is helped or not. And so if someone says, oh, I'm really grateful for your videos, I don't feel any warmth inside. I ask myself, well, what does that mean? What does it mean? And then if I said to them, well, what does it mean to you? What are you going to do with it? Have you got a YouTube channel? Are you saying something similar? Or do you just think you're waking up a little bit? What of it?
And most of the people that are on your channel, man, when you go to the comment section, they don't even have pictures of themselves. They got just different icons, and some of them don't even have a picture. And you're like, are these people that afraid of putting on a profile picture because they don't want to expose themselves? I reckon in some way, maybe they should have made it mandatory on YouTube. Two things. One, people should have a profile photo, and there should be an easy way to message the creators. Like, there should be the profile and there should be a message button. But YouTube probably doesn't want that, because if people connect too much and we voice our opinions, like they don't want to lose control,
Well, I've been banging on at my viewers for many years, and I've gone through some right vociferous rants, calling my viewers all the shrinking violet cowards under the sun. It's the 21st century. If they can't put a picture up of their faces with their real name, so we know what culture they pertain to, we know what age they are roughly, we know what gender they are. But when people are writing with some fucked up bullshit, I don't know how old they are, I don't know what gender they are, I don't know what culture they are, so basically they mean nothing to me. I've got no idea where they're coming from. I can't barely understand a single word they're saying, because whatever language they're speaking, it ain't the language I speak. And so I'm like, this is just idiocracy. The whole thing's idiocracy. And so, I said, look, if you want me to give you any respect, then show your fucking face, show your name. So give me a little respect, that when you are writing something down, I go, oh, that's a middle-aged woman from, Caucasian background. There may be a question I could have. Hey, so what part of the Western world do you live in? Oh, I live in Canada. Or, I'm French. Okay, well, that tells me a little bit of something about you. And that's interesting. What do you think about the French government? No, there's nothing. There's no communication. Nobody wants to communicate like that. They're terrified. They don't want anything that they say to be kept, used against them, because they've got no confidence, because they're minuscule inside. I say to them, when you are self-realized God, you ain't got no fears. That's why I put everything out there. Absolutely everything. Doesn't matter to me.
Very true, man. Very true. It seemed like I'm not old enough, but maybe as a society, sometimes I think like we were starting to peak, man, like around the late 90s, like 99, 2000. We're like, yeah, we got like good things going on. It's like a point where technology wasn't too advanced, but we had the basics and people could still connect with each other somewhat. And then we lost it after that, man.
Yeah, well, when I first started, let's say, I don't know, 14 years ago on YouTube, there were many more people which would engage. many more people which would write loads of stuff, and I'd have hundreds. Literally, I had hundreds of people coming for chats and this that, and the other, and they'd have their faces up, and it was much more simple. Now people have become much more insular, much more terrified, and I think there's a deep undertow to terror permeating through the whole of humanity.
Yeah, 100%. And, at the same time, as we don't get those comments and the interaction from people, still we got to go through with a mindset of no judgment, and we have to think at their level. Like, you see, most of these people, they're all at jobs, they're at works, they got family, they got kids. So if they're working for 10 hours, 12 hours a day, by the time they come home, man, they don't want to watch our videos. They just want to have a shower, have a beer, spend half an hour with their kid and sleep, so they can repeat the same rubbish on and on.
Yeah, so they can keep bottling my beer, making my
Yeah.
glasses,
Hey,
printing my books. You know,
Aaron,
um, carry on.
what you were saying earlier on, you're like, we need the muggles, we need these people around us, and I can give you a very good example of that. See, like, I'd say my awakening was maybe at around the age of like 20 years old, man. I used to pop like heaps of ecstasy, and I'd go to the park and I'd do exercise. And in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much love, excitement. And I was like, there's got to be more to life. Like, how can I achieve this naturally? And then that was the trigger switch. I was like, I can't be in this workplace. None of these people realize anything. But basically, like up to age 20 to 35, I managed to do some investments just like yourself. So I invested in 4 homes, and each one rented out now at like $900 per week. And thanks to those people, they're now renting it out and giving me a living. So I've got to be grateful to the muggles.
Well, I mean, uh, I maintain that I am grateful, and I often say thank you very much. And when I'm doing my cooking, I say I didn't plant these carrots, I didn't pick these carrots, I didn't pack these carrots, I didn't stack them on a shelf in the supermarket, I didn't cash them out, I didn't drive them from one end of the country, I didn't ship them over the other side of the world. I didn't do any of this stuff. All I'm doing is enjoying them now. Thank you. And so, to have gratitude, I've got gratitude. I live a blissful life. I'm absolutely grateful for everybody and everything. It's the whole setup. And the video I did before this, where I'm speaking about, well, I'm self-realized God. I must be God, because I don't do anything. I haven't done anything for 17 years, and yet the whole world is serving me like I am God. And so, well, what am I supposed to think? I'm a rational thinking person. And so, what am I supposed to make of it? Why am I in this position? And then people could say, oh, yeah, well, you've done this and you've done that. No, it's much, much deeper. Why have I gone on this 17-year journey, which has brought me here? Why did I write 220,000 words in a book, which is explaining 14 years of my spiritual journey and all this stuff? I don't know. I don't know anything. And so I'm just going to keep plodding on. And I don't have any expectations. I don't have any desires about it. I know enough now just to let things be, and whatever will be, because I don't have any control. And I'm not trying to control things. And in recent times, I thought to myself, I'll put a bit more effort into my YouTube channel. I'll put some keywords in more of the videos. I'll put a description down, and I'll put some end screen, on the end of the videos, and I'll choose a better thumb, and I'll a better, more interesting title. So I've done this, and you know what's happened? The
What's
channel's gone
happened?
down. I've lost subscribers. Less people are watching the videos, and there's less happening now than when I didn't do any of that stuff.
Maybe you just got to look at it from a different lens and say, well, you know what the universe is doing is basically filtering out all the fake people, so you'll be left with the real ones that understand you.
Yeah, well, that's a positive way of looking at it, and so I'd like to think that, but then you see, you would expect that if that was the case, then when I put my videos up and I've got 100 people watching my videos, then I would have a decent amount of interaction. I would have a far greater level of appreciation from people thinking, hey, man, the Wake and Brave channel is like gold. We can't get this shit out there. I'm very much in appreciation of it. The least I can do is put the thumb up, but no, look, well, I don't know whether you can see them, but I can see them. It's kind of like I average 10% thumbs up. It's 1 in 10, and that's good, you know, 1 in 10. What the
The
other 90
hatred,
doing?
the hatred is real, man. Like any video that I've seen from you, I always give it the thumbs up, man, because I'm like, all right, this is useful information. At least let's be grateful or say thank you or hope that the algorithm like spreads the video so Aaron can get more viewers. But these people don't want it, man. And I guess that's what Buddha was saying, man. He's like, expectations is the root of suffering. So maybe, Aaron, we just got to drop the
Yeah,
expectations
yeah.
because we're causing our own suffering through that. You know that, I know that. So that's a simple fix.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that I'm suffering through it because personally, I can tell you that I don't want to be popular, and the reason why I don't want to be popular because at this level now, what my channel's at with 100 views on videos, the odd email and the odd chat, that's all that I've literally got the mentality, the conscious state for, or the energy. This video, we've been talking for 2 hours and 40 minutes. My voice is tired. I'm tired. I'm sweating. I need a shower. I need something to eat. And when I put this video up, analytics tell me that I only ever have 3% of engagement on the video. So people will click off this video after about the 5 or 10 minute mark, and they won't go any further, or they'll skip through, 5 times to listen to a couple of seconds whereby they expect the nature of the universe to be in there, and then they've gone. And so, am I supposed to respect humanity for that? No, I don't. I'm absolutely scathing of them. But there are a few gems out there, such as yourself. And so that's, I suppose, what I'm doing. I'm here for you guys.
Thank you, man. I can't believe it. Like, oh. Sorry,
Battery going.
Aaron. 1 second. No, I think I've just got somebody trying to call me. I just gotta. Is that better?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess some people can't, or they're busy, or something like that. But I know in my situation, man, I was always walking, going to the gym, going to the beach. Anywhere I go, I'd have your videos on, and I'll just play it in the background, listen to the whole thing, and I was like, yeah, another Aaron Berry video. It's like, yeah, let's do this, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an acquired taste. We are a very small percentage of consciousness. And it is what it is, Like I say, there was only one Picasso, there's only one Rembrandt, there's only one Lennon and McCartney, and whatever I'm doing, there's only one of me, there's only one of you, and there's a lot of stuff out there that people can choose from, and people have grown up in all different sorts of ways, got vastly different levels of consciousness and all this stuff. And if I'm thinking, hey, this is a real good video, you'll love this video, well, who will love it? Why do I think it's so great? Who am I to be able to judge something that I've come up with? Isn't that ego or something? And how do I know how people are going to be perceiving my videos? I've got no idea of their level of consciousness. And so even when people have considered that they've become masters of YouTube and they've got millions of subscribers and they're earning a lot of money from it, they say we still can't work out when a video is going to go viral, because all the ones we think are going to go viral, they fall dead. The ones we just think, oh, it's a piece of shit, and just going to put that up there, goes viral, earns them, 10 grand in the first couple of days. And so it's just bizarre. The whole thing's bizarre. And so what can we do? We'll just keep, doing what we do, I suppose. And so let's wrap this one up within the next 15 minutes. That will bring us up to 3 hours. Goodness me, who's got the time? Who's got the luxury, Michael, for a 3-hour video? For goodness sakes, what are we, crazy? We're absolutely crazy to even consider that a fraction of the population have that privilege.
And to be honest with you, man, like I'm normally a very quiet, reserved person. I normally don't like talking much, but this conversation with you has been great. It's been electrical. Ideas have been flowing, and I appreciate your time.
it's been very nice, and for you to come forward with a structure, and you've thought about the things that you want to ask me about, and you've took the time and effort to write things down. Well, it's very refreshing for me. I don't want to keep flogging every conversation because people have come ill prepared. So you have a channel. So can you put the link to your channel? Do you want to share the channel on this channel? So you put it in the comments so people can see that, and you just put a note saying, "Hi, I'm Michael, the guy in this video," because otherwise how would anyone know? Because they wouldn't get to this part. Probably no one will get to this part, and that's bizarre. It really is bizarre, but yeah, it is what it is. And so then I'll tune into your channel and see what's what, and we'll have another chat on another occasion, a personal one to get into some of the personal facets that you've experienced, because that's the root of stuff as far as I'm concerned. The deep down emotional stuff that people are just like, can't really put that out there. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to finish up on?
Definitely, man. Look, I've probably written like 8 questions around here. I don't expect you to talk about them, but they're just ones that I want you to think about. So maybe on our next conversations we can have. But I want to just briefly let you know.
We've got 15 minutes, so go for it.
I'll briefly tell you all the questions that I've written down. All right.
Yeah.
One of them is, for example, to ask you, Aaron, what direction is the world going in? The second question is, what are we doing on this planet? The third question, when did you start awakening? What did you notice? What was the shift for you that made you have that change? We already talked about the therapist and how they could have a better framework and system for that. And you've already tried to improve that. After that, we've got certain things we can talk about. Is there free will? It seems like some things we can choose, some things we can't. What's the point of life? Is it about self-realization? Is it about to awaken and to be the superhero of your movie, or is it about purifying yourself? The next question is, in the perfect Aaron's world, what would that look like? And obviously another topic we would talk about is the world agenda, digital ID, the ticks, immigration. Where's society heading, man?
Most of that stuff is spoken about in my book. In the book, there is a 30-page preamble which precedes the first chapter, and it speaks about how and why I came to be on this journey. Then incrementally, it takes you through all of the bizarre shit that I went through 14 years. And so it's a very thorough depiction of the 14 years. There's all different sorts of stuff in there, from the entheogenic experience to out-of-body experience, supernatural experience. Then I'm questioning what is love, what is God, what is hate, what's the efficacy of confession, what is prayer, dream interpretation. There's just a billion things. And people don't really need to be massive readers, because you can chip off a couple of pages a day, because it's written in a way whereby you see, you can see there's a part that's highlighted there. That's the beginning of a new part, and it says here, did I really create the cosmos? Was it really all me? Well, when you take DMT, you know that it was. And so then I turn over the page, and then there is another one here, and I say, the day I saw God in the clouds whilst on DMT. Now, that was a really, really, really big deal that changed my whole life. Then turn over the page, and there's 2 pages there. Then there's on the 3rd page, so it's only 3 pages. What I'm saying is that people can read 3 pages a day to get some powerful things to think about, to take with them for that whole day before they come back to another one. And then it says, another bearded bloke in a toga, accompanied by bat-winged creatures and cherubs. I saw these toga-clad Greek god type people with muscles and beards and hair flowing like double-decker buses just in the sky, made out of clouds when I taking DMT. And I'm like, this
Wow.
is just bizarre beyond comprehension. There's a billion things which are super interesting. And I've mentioned this book all the time, and it's amazing how I look into my um, um, book sales, and I see that one person's bought the book that month, and I'm like, well, you can't help people. You can't. All the things I speak about, the depth and the magnitude of the things I speak about, absolutely outlandish, and people don't want to invest £25 or 25 fucking dollars, whatever it is in your country, for a book which would, at the very very least, lay a foundation to incredible things. And so I go, well, I've wrote the book. The cosmos got me to write the book. Everything else is out of my hands.
And it's really good that you've read the book and everything as well, because say maybe like in another 10, 15 years or 20 years, you might have forgotten about all these sort of things, but then you'll read your own book and you'll smile and you'll laugh back at all the memories that you had, man.
Well, these things are absolutely indelibly embedded in my consciousness, and when I wrote them down, I wrote them exactly as I remember them, and to this day now, I can still recall exactly. My memory is very, very precise. It's very good, and if you're going to write 14 years of an autobiography in such graphic detail, that's going to be really, really compelling. You've got to remember the details. And so why did I remember the details? Why do I have that capacity? I don't lay claim to it. I said at the beginning of this book, Aaron Berry isn't writing this book. Consciousness is writing this book. Spirit.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree with you on that one, Aaron. I reckon it's some sort of like higher power or something that's guiding you or gifting you to do these sort of things for sure.
And so, well, I mean, on that note, all we can do is to say, well, I've no idea where this is going. I'm not propelling it in any direction. I'm just doing every day. I just drift through every day. I don't never get up with an intention to do anything. I never get up to make videos about this and that. No, if a video comes, a video comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's the beauty of my freedom. And then when I've made the video, I've forgotten about it. And I'm just in this beautiful peace and tranquil state throughout each and every day, basking in the kingdom of God.
Man, that's awesome, Aaron. Yeah, I think there was like some sort of quote from Osho from someone. They said like after enlightenment, there's nothing to be done, nowhere to go, and something else. I forget that one, but man, you've got the ultimate freedom, and it's like all the things that you thought were going wrong in your life, the marriage, the breakup, people trying to kill you, and all that. Everything towards the end of it led to your freedom, and it's been a mind blowing experience for you, man, and.
Yeah.
I know my consciousness compared to yours is only a fragment. It's only 2% because you've lived probably an extra 30 years than me and you've traveled to 50 different countries. So by
Yeah.
the time I do that, you're at a whole different level, man.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, you see, and it's not like it's not anything that I can lay claim to really per se. I can't lay claim of my greatness for being 62 years old. I can't lay claim to all these supernatural experiences because I'm so great. I can't lay claim to my hypervigilance because I'm so great. It's all circumstances in my life which were completely out of my control. I can't lay claim to anything. I don't lay claim to whether this book is good or bad or anything because it's all down to interpretation. And I wouldn't have written it under my own authority or jurisdiction because it took 8 months of a ball aching 5 hours every freaking day. Waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, getting out of bed on the computer again because something's got to be done. And so, but what I do know is that what I do say is that when we go through life, some of us And when we have a lot of experience and when we do a lot of reading and we do a lot of thinking, our consciousness expands. And we know that for certain. And then when we take the entheogens, wow, every time you take a trip, your consciousness expands immeasurably until in the end, like I said in the video today, I said my consciousness has encompassed the cosmos. That's what I feel now. I don't feel small. I don't feel minuscule. My consciousness is just encompassing absolutely everything. And so
Yeah.
therefore, my consciousness, due to the spiritual enlightening, then it's melded back with the ocean of consciousness, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think I kind of realized that as well, man. It's like when you stop playing a character and you get your ego out of the way or under control and all that. I think maybe it was like Ram Dass that said or something. Is like when you become nothing, you become everything. You know?
Well, yeah, because you feel everything. You feel infinite, and it's a very
Yeah,
very peculiar thing because what that's saying is in relation to when your ego dissolves, then all you've got left is spirit, and spirit
yeah,
is immense.
yeah. Now that's spot on, Aaron. That's spot on,
Yeah.
man.
Brilliant. Well, I really appreciate this conversation, Michael. Really appreciate you putting the time and effort into making it very interesting. And I, for one, would be open for another one, most certainly a private one about your private stuff. And, we'll be in touch
Thank,
and see you in the comments.
thank you very much, man. Maybe one day we share to the audience some of our mystical experiences and we can compare and relate some of those things. So we'll see.
I'm always open, and so that's the beauty of people watching my channel. I'm one of the few people that they can actually arrange within the drop of a hat to have a conversation for 2 or 3 hours. How many of the YouTubers offer that? I don't know what the reservation is with these people. It's bizarre beyond comprehension for me, but I'm very, very grateful that everybody doesn't take it up. Otherwise, I'd have no time, would I?
Yeah, yeah. So my last message, I guess, for you from this show is thank you very much for the conversation. Enjoy the Matrix, enjoy the freak show, the clown show, and keep strong in the world, man.
Yes, and you too, mate. Speak soon.
Speak soon. Take care.
Cheers,
Have a good
Michael.
one. See you,
Bye.
man. See you. Bye.